name is Scott Reister. I'm the creator of North American Racing League, also a NARL Porsche Cup driver, broadcasted live by Pit Stop TV.
Hi, my name is John Sedlak, and I race for Firelight Esports in North American Racing League. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/diesel_dad.
Hello, I am Dino Filippa, sim racer from Argentina, current champion, and I will be competing in the championship for the ERS team and also providing the data for each race for the participant drivers.
Hey guys, I'm Marco Saavedra, and I'm a NARL Porsche Cup driver representing Infinite Racing Services. I'm a race winner and multiple podium finisher on the last NARL GT3 season, so I'll be working to get even better results this championship on a different car. See you all on track.
Hi guys, I am Ricardo Rico from Spain. I drive with Zenith Esports and I will be doing this Porsche Cup season in the North American Racing League. I hope you can catch with us on the Pit Stop TV broadcast and we will try to give you a good show. See ya!
Hi, my name is Lubov. I'm full-time streamer, content creator, ambassador for Master and Excel Racing. And also, I'm North American Racing League Porsche Cup driver.
Hey guys, my name's Ryan Kerr. Looking forward to racing in NARL, broadcast by Pit Stop TV again this season. This time in the pro category after last season's good result. Racing again with Mirandas. Looking forward to seeing everybody out on track.
Hi, my name is David Schwartz. I'm 36 years old. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm representing the Mirandas M Squad. In real life, I'm the 2018 D Street Las Vegas region autocross champion, also an STCA time trial winner, and I've been sim racing for about 6 years.
Hi, I am Dalton Zavidal, driver for SimCity Racing and North American Racing League Porsche Cup driver. I am the 2021 Colorado Karting Tour iRacing Winter Series champion and the 2022 Season 1 Porsche Cup Pro-Am champion.
Olá, meu nome é Jackson Rezende, faço parte da Texaco Race by TK e sou piloto da North American Race League Porsche Cup.
Hey guys, Bruno Do Carmo here from Texaco Racing by TK, Pro World Championship license back in 2017, and now I'm a North American Racing League Porsche Cup driver.
Hello guys, my name is Gustavo Ariel and I'm Texaco Racing by Tony Canan driver, and I'll be driving on the North American Racing League Porsche Cup Championship. Let's go.
The North American Racing League has a staggering amount of South American drivers and support, making any race at Brazil feel like a visit to a second home. So it's no surprise that Interlagos graces the North American Racing League schedule once again in the form of Porsche Cup Season 3 Round 6 this evening. Can Brazil's own Texaco Racing by TK control the night, or might an international underdog step up to the plate? Welcome to Pit Stop TV. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with Emerson Arden alongside. Monza was expectedly chaotic, giving us a round of spectacular crashes and passes, amazing finishes, and even more class promotions, meaning Brazil might actually feel a bit tame tonight, despite featuring multiple large crashes and even flips here in past seasons, Emerson. It's going to be a night of oddities, I think, in a calm way.
Absolutely. I mean, this track, it feels right when it comes to motorsport, right? You have the high-speed section that kind of ends a lap, and then you go right into an S section, into another overtaking zone. It just has that feeling that you kind of can test all bits of car and driver, and it has put drivers to the test here in past seasons here in the North American Racing League. It's brought some very chaotic races. It's been a season finale race that has brought a lot of drama in its own right, and it's deserving of its spot on the calendar each season it appears. And once again, I think it's going to prove why it is just one of the best tracks we can get here on the iRacing.com motorsport simulations platform.
Well, that begins with, I think, the most accurately named S's in motorsport. The Senna S down at a Curva do Sol for turn number 3, and down the long backstretch here, I think the longest continuous straightaway without at least some kind of bend. Not the longest on throttle time, but the longest straightaway on the racetrack. Reta Opasta down to turn number 4 at Terceiro do Lago, around turn 5, again a long straightaway up to Ferradura, and around... I wish we had JP. I really do. I wish we had JP tonight for the corner pronunciations. But anyways, around turn 7 up the hill towards turn number 8, which is very much a hairpin, especially after the long straightaway and sweepers that we go through to get there. Same thing for turn 9, although it takes a little bit longer to get around that longer radius. And again, up at the hairpin of turn 10. So you really have 3 sequential back-to-back hairpins before you come around Bico de Pato and around turn 11 to turn 12. Again, right at that almost hairpin kind of feel for a corner. That shoots you up the hill to turn 13 around Sobidos boxes, and turn 15 back around for a complete lap here at Interlagos. And you're right, Emerson, we've seen very much cars be tested, drivers be tested here, and I think we're going to see very much the same thing tonight, even though all these drivers are in the same Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars. We'll take a look at the standings for amateur first, of course. Ilya Speaker controlling things now that we've had 3 drivers promoted from the amateur class up to Pro-Am. Those being John Kroom, Milan Harris, and Chris Sanchez. Taking them out of the fight makes it Ilya Speaker, Bjorn Stange, Kleber Tavares, Joe Nagy, and Joshua Lyon. Your top 5 all separated by just 11 points. Even Charles Hosea in 6th place, Keith Wilfred in 7th. They're not far out of this, Emerson, and especially with these last 3 rounds on the schedule. I know they feel like classic Grand Prix style racetracks, but even at each of these last 3 tracks, literally anything can happen. We can see a massive crash like we've seen here before around Curva do Sol. We can see a crash maybe in turn 1 or the arena section at Nürburgring next week, and of course anything can happen when we go to Sebring for a finale. So this championship for the AM class is still wide open as practice concludes.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 fantastic tracks to close out the calendar, but again, all tracks test a driver, whether that be more, on skill or the keeping mentally focused. We have the very flowy Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit next week in Sebring, of course, iconic here in the Americas, but plenty of opportunities for these drivers to make up ground on the other side. On the other side of that, to also make mistakes. So the drivers who are in prime position right now, they'll be looking to hold it. And you can take a look at the schedule here. We've already gone through 5 rounds. We've got 3 more to go, plus, of course, the bonus race at Long Beach to close out the calendar. And it's been fantastic.
Brazil this week, Germany next week, Sebring to close out the championship, and Long Beach for a bit of fun when we get into July 2023. It's been a fantastic season so far, and we'll definitely be continuing that this evening. A big thank you to our series partners, of course, with the North American Racing League, Infinite Racing Services, Muradness, Victorum, and Screw Compressor Service Incorporated. And a big shout out to our partners here with the channel, of course, Whiplash Media, SimCams, ATVO, and CC's Business. We have got cars on the racetrack, qualifying on the racetrack. Robert Guadagnoli at the top of the list of, well, drivers haven't taken a time yet, so this is at the top of our timing and scoring sheet. We'll go on down through the list of them. Guadagnoli out of New England. How about Brian Robinson out of the Atlantic Club? Samuel Bernardi, of course, from Michigan. Chip Witt from California, beginning his qualifying laps. Keith Wilfred, always a great paint scheme on that 48 car out of Canada. Avon Dorsey from the Atlantic Club. Ilya Speaker, of course, from Rockefeller Racing, controlling the standings out of Pennsylvania. Sean Patterson from Canada. Volker Krebs from Canada. How about Bjorn Stange out of Florida and Philip Adurka out of Florida. A couple of Floridians there, very close on the racetrack. How about Gary Weaver from Arizona? Jay Davis from the Mid-South. Matthew Shervick from the Virginias. This is, I think, the most North American class in the North American Racing League. Atlantic there for Jay Robinson. How about finally a Brazilian? Kleber Tavares got his first win on the season, Emerson, last week at Monza. Very well could repeat this evening.
Absolutely, and Kleber did that in some crazy fashion last week, going toe-to-toe there. Of course, that was a very high slipstream dependent track that was the Monza combined circuit last week. He went toe-to-toe and with Wendell Lira, and Lira unfortunately came together with Tavares. They made contact heading into what would have been the second chicane, and Lira unfortunately got the worst end of that deal, but Tavares was able to escape and hold on to a very much deserving win. And here we are at well, there's Wendell Lira looking to get some redemption, also a potential home track for Wendell Lira.
Rodrigo Arante is also one of our Brazilians, and definitely sporting the most Brazilian paint scheme on the grid for this number 14. Charles Hosea out of New England would like to get a win if possible. Dean Kerr from California certainly wouldn't mind it. Joshua Lyon from California as well. Kerry Corcoran out of the Great Plains. Nick Polliard from the west of the United States. And how about Don Gottlieb, another Florida man here in car 73. Qualifying times are rolling in, as you've seen across the top of your screen. Ilya Speaker straight to the top of the board, Emerson, and we very much expect that. I think it's going to be Ilya and Kleber for most of these race wins and poles to complete the season, but anything can still happen. Joe Nagy certainly not far back, a 10th, it looks like, a 10th and a half, almost 10th and 3/4 off of his teammate Ilya. Bjorn Stange looks quick. It's going to be very much the same characters at the top of the board for today.
Certainly, you have names. I mean, Kleber Tavares right now sits in that 5th position, as Joshua Lyon, he'll put a 4 quick as only 7 1,000
second
off
quick
of Ilya Speaker. How about that?
Very close there to pole for Joshua Lyon. We still have a couple of laps to go as these drivers now are on to lap number 2. Bernardi comes in, checks into the top 10 as well. Everybody getting their times in. Keith Wilfred in the comments is being called Overtake Champion, and this guy nearly got Driver of the Day nomination at Barber a couple of weeks ago, and I think very much is an underdog in this series anytime we unload any racetrack. I'm very impressed this season by Keith Wilfred and how much he's improved, how much he's shown out, and just continues to be that kind of sleeper pick in this amateur class.
Absolutely. Working his way here, trying to improve upon that 7th place starting position, but he's only, I mean, he's still well within. Well, I see we have a time in the 134s with Tavares. I was gonna say Wilfred not that far up, but Tavares pushing the mark another little bit. Ilya Speaker, is there a response?
So Kleber finished that lap after Ilya, Avon Dorsey, and Bjorn Stange all finished their second laps. Meaning Kleber, I think, is currently very much ahead of the game here. They get 3 laps of qualifying. They're on their 3rd lap now for the most part throughout the entire field, as Wilfred bumps back up to 8th position ahead of Volker Krebs and Adam Ballard. if he's already going that quick, has tires up to the same temp as Ilya and everybody else, quite frankly, it feels like he's a little bit ahead on the mark, and we see that usually, where whoever is fastest on lap 2 is also fastest on lap 3, but it also comes down to driver execution, and nothing against these guys in the M class. I'm not saying they're bad drivers, but technically they are the lowest of 3 classes, which means you would think they're the most inconsistent. We'll see if that actually reigns true in this qualifying, or if they're able to stay mistake-free. That looked a little wide for Ilya, but hey, if there's no off-track, go for it. Again, it looks a little wide, but I think he's tested these things. A lot of these Rockefeller guys have. They know their limits.
Well, then here we go, as we'll watch Ilya Speaker climb the hill, working up the RPMs, up the gears, and to the line, the shortest way to the line. It'll be faster, but it won't be fast enough.
Only by 100th, so he gets a little closer, but not close enough. Here he is, Kleber Tavares. Can he go any faster? He does. A 134.858. Can't control his happiness as he sends it off into the turn 1 barrier, displaying that brand new damage model. Ivan Dorsey not able to go faster. Joshua Lyon, though, he may have something. Up out of turn 12 and now through turn 13 up the hill. It's a long climb on the throttle here to turn 1. Joshua Lyon going to give it his best.
All about perfecting those shift points. Waiting the lights out, holding in 5th gear, a little long to the line. Lyon.
He surprised me. Up about a 10th, but not any positions. Billy Bowerman now to 11th spot. Still has this lap to finish. Samuel Bernardi in 12th. Same deal as everybody getting the laps at about the same time. Rodrigo Arantes, though, for a home track driver, he's a little further south than I think he would like to be. 2.1 seconds off pole. Let's see what he can do around Subito's boxes and to the start-finish line. Rodrigo Arantes trying to pick up the pace for 136.982. The next time ahead is a 136.906. That's what he's got to beat to grab any positions. Unfortunately, it's just going to miss the mark.
Quite unfortunate there, but we have now our eyes on Philip Bederka. Little bit of a grabbing the curve there on corner exit. Up the hill we go for Bederka, trying to see if he can improve upon his starting position right now. Philip Bederka down in the 26th position at a 37.9. I'm sure almost anything would be welcomed as an improvement in how about 6/10ths right there. Oh, does it not count?
Invalid, yeah.
Wow.
Unfortunate. That would have moved him up to, it looks like, the 22nd position ahead of Nick Pollard. Right behind Arantes, actually. So that would have been a big-time gain there for Philip, but just not able to keep the reins on that lap as he'll come around and do another lap before the time expires. But everybody has their 3 laps in, except for Jay Robinson. And it looks like that lap will be canceled for car 321. A look at weather conditions. 66.8 degrees in the air, 74 on track. Clear skies. This is one of the cooler Brazil races we've seen. We are in the morning, though, Emerson. I wonder how much the track is going to warm up.
Yeah, right now it is 9:44 in sim, and as you know, obviously the sun will rise up in real life as we go deeper into the day. I could definitely see the track heating up a little bit, but with it starting that cool, I think these drivers are going to be loving the grip, especially for this amateur race. It's only 30 minutes, it can't heat up all that much. Can it? I mean, I guess we'll see, but I'm sure the grip will be very welcomed.
I think any large increase in temperature we'll see will be after this race, going into the pro race here at about a half-hour time. Call it 45 minutes, I suppose. I think at that point, that'll be what, 10:30 in sim, because the time carries over, maybe closer to 11 potentially. That should be right about the time that we'd expect to see some significant track temp gains, just like you would in real life. Going outside, of course, at 9:30, it's still going to be a little bit cool from the morning, but once you get to 11 o'clock, it's pretty much midday. You expect it to be much warmer at that point in time, so we'll see how the weather conditions change throughout the course of the afternoon. But let's take a look at our starting grid this evening here at Brazil. Glad to have you all watching. on all of our social media platforms. The only one listed that we're no longer broadcasting to, and this will be changed before we come back next week at Germany, is Twitch. And we could get into a whole thing about that, but if you are one of our usual Twitch viewers, first of all, thank you for joining one of our other platforms. We're sorry to have seen Twitch go, but we'll keep you updated on that situation, I'm sure, on social media. Let's take a look at our starting grid. Position number 1, Kleber Tavares. For car 92, Ilya Speaker will roll off. Second, Avon Dorsey. Third, Bjorn Stange. Fourth. Fifth and sixth, Joshua Lyon, Volker Krebs. Then to round out your top 10, you got Charles Hosea, Joe Nagy, Keith Wilfred, and Adam Ballard.
Starting 11th will be Billy Bowerman. It'll be Samuel Bernardi starting in 12th. Finding our way back to row number 7 will be Kerry Corcoran. And, well, that'll be it because we're about to get going.
Lights out, we're ready to go here in Brazil. Sao Paulo roars to life with engines once again. Green flag of the North American Racing League at Brazil. A couple of cars off in Curva do Sol for the first time. Look at the field run through turn 3 and onto the Reta Opasta, the backstretch here at Brazil. Down to turn 4 to Interlagos. Such an important corner on this opening lap.
Absolutely. I could kind of hear these drivers kind of feeling it out through Vicena S and working their way down here through turn 4. These drivers not wanting to get into any early trouble. They saw what happened last week at Monza, looking to get a little bit of a better result, try to bounce back from that. So these drivers not being as aggressive as we saw last week, of course.
Teammates holding steady, second and third here up front, following Kleber Tavares. Two of your Rockefeller Racing drivers, both the green drivers, left in this AM class. Ilya Speaker, Avon Dorsey, head up to turn number 10, the true hairpin in this lap for the first time today. Beautiful shot there as we've got a battle side by side. Charles Hosea and now Keith Wilfred getting by Volker Krebs as Rodrigo Arantes in his home round goes for a spin in the back. Robert Guadagnoli collected as well.
Quite unfortunate, but of course it's the beginning of the race and there's plenty of time to bounce back. Still well within the group and can try to work some sort of leapfrogging up through the field. Try to work your way forward. Now the traffic, of course, will be a little bit of a hindrance, but the field will come by the start-finish line for the first time at full speed, and it's Kleber Tavares at the front.
One lap complete. Love the speed shot here in Brazil. This is when cars are at their terminal velocity here. Nearly a $170 at times, about 160 going into that first corner. The Senna S's here at Brazil. It really is a special place to go racing. One car on the outside. Oh, Nick Pollard in trouble outside of turn 1. And he's going to try and find his way back onto the circuit here. He has now been passed for 26th, 27th, and drops into 28th position. Does car 113. Pass here, Samuel Bernardi. One car in trouble. It's Keith Wilfred. Oh, the 48 turned around. And he has got a lot of rear end damage.
I wonder if that's from the wall or if he was contacted at the center of the corner.
I would have to think in a Cedar Lago there must be contact, but we'll take a look here. Nobody following him immediately into that corner. Volker Krebs rolls up on him, but Keith goes around on his own, backs into the wall. I'm surprised by that. I'm very surprised.
It's unfortunate. He spun so late off the corner that the wall started approaching back to the circuit.
That's probably rolling off the brake too early, if anything.
Right.
Battery might have chipped the TC, trying to get back to throttle too early. Hard to say. But out front, Ilya Speaker has got Kleber Tavares in his crosshairs, completing lap number 2, and we are oh so close to these top 2 spots. Is Ilya going to save? No, he's going to pull around to the outside and try and make a move.
I love it. Let's go racing. Ilya Speaker with the fastest lap. Of course, the aid of the slipstream. Don't look too soon. Avon Dorsey wants a piece of the action. It's a 3-car breakaway at the front of the field.
3 cars, then 1, then a few. That looks like the spacing here at Brazil after a couple of laps. Jay Robinson, outside of turn 1 in trouble. We saw Jay get into some trouble last week at Monza as well with his brother, I believe, Brian Robinson in car 123. They run opposite car numbers, 321 and 123 here in the North American Racing League. A couple of cars further back getting passed up. I think Volker Krebs dropping a spot. Although actually he and Bernardi have moved through the field nicely. Actually, I take that back. Volker Krebs down from 6th to 8th, actually. I thought they had moved up. It was Bernardi who has moved up from 12th to 9th. There we go.
Yeah, Bernardi keeping it nice and tidy. Very clean start. Just avoid the chaos, if you will. And see what more he can gain. I don't know if Bernardi's really had to make his own overtake so far. It's kind of all been happening around him.
Looking on board here with Philip Badurka. Started well up the grid at Barber a few weeks ago. Really was a career qualifying effort. Here today at Brazil, still not a bad qualifying. Well, I guess not a bad race so far, considering he did qualify 26th of 29, I believe. And is now into the 19th position. So a good start for Philip, and this is the kind of thing you have to take advantage of. Even if you qualify down the order, you've got to make the most of the race session. So far, Philip is doing just that as he heads back onto the front stretch and will complete his own lap number 3. One car way out wide. I think that was Jay Davis losing a spot. No, rather Otto Rosa. Clarence Rosa losing multiple positions there between the final braking zone and the first braking zone of the next lap. He drops into 23rd behind Jade Davis and Matthew Shervick with, it looks like, Chip Witt there as well. Oh, spinner! Charles Jose out of turn 4. The Interlagos decides the fate of car 100, and it's not a good one.
I have to think here, Andrew. This is now the second spin we've seen off that corner. Artie Sharp is being a little too aggressive on the throttle application coming out of there.
Another spinner right behind him, Robert Guadagnoli. As you're saying that, Everson, look at that.
Oh my goodness.
Well, let's go back and see what happened to each of these drivers. First, Charles Hosea in number 100 goes around, and this is actually the tail end, so we'll back up just a tad further. And he was following Joshua Lyon, who made a pass on him into this corner. So this is up here for the 5th position, a very significant driver to this race. And one of the remaining Rockefeller Racing Gold drivers in this series. And just goes right around kind of lazily. Same deal for Robert Guadagnoli. Let's listen in car and see if we can pick out anything odd. You know, he did chip a little bit of TC there. I don't know if that was downshift protection or TC, but the engine bogged just a little bit once he got down into 3rd gear. I wonder if that's the same for Hosea.
It looked like for Hosea, it looked like it happened early. If you have another spinner here in the S's live, but it looked like the spin happened early in the corner. Yeah, right when they're throwing the car in.
Different story there. You can go ahead.
But yeah, we saw there with the second spinner that they just kind of threw the car in late. I feel like in 3rd gear they were still trying to decelerate the car, and so much speed that the car just came around.
Yeah, I think with Hosea, he was trying to back up the entry. After, of course, Lyon going on through, he was trying to then cut down to the apex and get a run. And when he did that, he punched the throttle a little too soon and just brought the rear end around as Wendell goes up the inside of Sean Patterson and punts the 58 out of his way. That allows Keith Wilfred to go on through for a nice gimme spot, and that moves Keith back into 14th position, now looking at 13th. This could be a grand opportunity here as he dives the inside, thinks about it, and backs back out. Sean Patterson to the inside. That was close for a moment. That's going to bind Sean Patterson up a little bit as we head up to turn number 12. Don Gottlieb in this train along with teammate Philip Badurka. So some of the move over racing drivers back here in the 16th, 17th spot. Their teammate Joshua Lyon really carrying the banner today.
Right there at the end of that train, that's Kerry Corcoran. That was the driver who went around at the beginning of the lap, clipping too much curb into turn 1.
Here we go, Keith Wilfred on the outside as Billy Bowerman has a problem outside of the Senna S. This is a problem. He does get off of the racetrack, but that could have been rather poor. And he's still trying to get turned around. It's a bad spot.
I just had to go lawn mow it a little bit.
Yeah, he's going to have to get that car slowly turned around. Now finally finds a gap. as he will get back on the racetrack. Further ahead, how about Brian Robinson, Adam Ballard? This the battle for the top 10, and as we've already had 9 minutes go by, we got to start thinking about driver of the day material. And Sean Patterson, Keith Wilford, look at this fight.
Up the hill. Wow.
Wilfred back by Patterson. Yeah, and here comes Gottlieb now, looking at the 58 car of Patterson. That's for 14th spot. Kerry Corcoran, his brand new livery right in the middle. He maybe tips the 73. Gottlieb goes for a spin and loses all of those positions he had been fighting to grab. And ahead now, Wendell Lira, Brian Robinson, Adam Ballard. Here we go, side by side as they head through turn 11 up to turn 12. They get it figured out. Robinson will take the spot over Ballard. Well, what I was going to get at is we've already completed 10 minutes of racing now. We're nearly into driver of the day territory for this amateur class. We certainly don't want to forget, like we did last week at Monza, Emerson. Clearly, Tavares is driver of the day. He won it last week, though, so we got to search for somebody else that is really impressing. And quite frankly, I've got to go with Joshua Lyon. When he first came on the scene in the North American Racing League, and this isn't a nomination yet, but somebody that needs to be considered for sure. When he came on the scene, he was one of the few Porsches in the GT3 category right after the Porsche had been big-time nerfed and just wasn't really at all the car to go with. It was challenging, it was slow, and he muscled through it. I specifically recall him being new at Red Bull Ring a couple of seasons ago and just kept on fighting through it, did not want to give up. Unfortunately for him, it resulted in a bad day at Red Bull Ring. Has since fought and clawed his way to some really cool finishes and a really cool run today here in the Porsche Cup Series. 5th place right now in the amateur class, and right into the territory nearly of soon being moved up to Pro-Am.
Absolutely. Joshua Lyon, he's been here quite a bit. He's made his stay here at NARL. I'm sure he's looking to keep gaining those eyes on him. The one if you're putting me on the spot here to nominate someone, the one I would nominate would be right behind him would be Samuel Bernardi, who's worked his way into the top 10, well into the top 10. He's one spot out of the top 5 after starting 12th, has kept it clean, and has been, of course, the one noticeable driver that can just continue working his way up the scoring ladder on the left side. Samuel Bernardi, he's had a very clean race, and just continues to put that car in the right places.
Joe Nagy takes a look at him at a turn 1, and you know what, may as well go ahead and start making our nominations. I wasn't yet, but I will go ahead and nominate Joshua Lyon. It looks like you'll get Samuel Bernardi. Looking around the field, there's a lot of great options. I think I'm going to have to move up a little bit. Avon Dorsey hasn't been here much this season, has missed a few races. Kerry Corcoran in trouble here in turn 1. We'll quickly take a detour from those conversations and take a look at what just happened to Kerry Corcoran, and you can see Emerson, this brand new American kind of Team USA looking livery, kind of fitting going into Le Mans this weekend. But let's take a look at Kerry Corcoran's spin down here in turn 1.
Yeah, Kerry Corcoran, he's been struggling today.
Wow.
Oh man, great avoidance.
Yeah, all things considered. Yeah, all things considered, that's a positive, I think.
It's the second time though Kerry's gone around in turn number 1.
Wendell Lira getting passed live by Adam Ballard, and this brings me right down to a couple of guys that I was maybe thinking about. I think I'll give an honorary mention to Brian Robinson, Adam Ballard, these guys fighting for the 10th, 11th positions. As Bjorn Stange is around out of turn 12, that is a troublesome spot to be in. That is a really odd place to have gone off the racetrack and gone for a loop. He drops down into 7th, allows Bernardi and Nagy to go by, and Volker Krebs will be next up. Which, hey, it was our first 2 nominations, Emerson, both into the top 5. I'm going to have to go with another top 5 driver, Avon Dorsey. I was beginning to talk about this guy. He came on the scene again last season in a Porsche in GT3 cars, and is another driver that I think has really picked up since then. Has made a lot of quick strides with Rockefeller Racing. And of course, in the best organization I think you can be in here in the amateur classes. We've already seen 2 of their drivers be promoted mid-season up to Pro-Am and to a whole different race. Avon Dorsey has really been impressive.
And I guess we can complete the 4 drivers. I would go with our second place runner right there with Ilya Speaker, just continuing to pile the pressure on to Clever Tavares. Tavares, of course, trying to go back-to-back here in the Porsche Cup amateur category, and Sean Patterson has gone off. I believe that is off in turn number 10. I'm sorry,
it's turn 4.
12. Wait, is that turn? Oh, that is. Yeah, the circuit, not the far end.
Yeah, that was at Interlagos. Here comes Charles Hosea to the inside, and Jean kind of pinches that off, but we'll have to allow him through here for turn 8. Glad there was no contact there. I think those are 4 really good options, and that poll we put up in just a moment over on YouTube. I hate that we kind of have to skip over Kleber just to give a fair chance to other guys in the series, but otherwise, Kleber would be a great option, and I think the option right now. Although you could argue Ilya's speaker, as Ilya is closing in. Adam Ballard around out of turn 12. This time, properly out of turn 12. He is way out in no man's land. How did he end up there? I think anyone's guess is as good as anybody else's. Here's a look at it. As he was up out of corner exit, and wow, it really just went around on him. That's really odd. And of course, these guys can't change their setups. They are on a fixed setup from Infinite Racing Services. Maybe the TC just not agreeing with some of them. Certainly fixed setups always kind of bring out differences in driving styles and who can really conform to the car the best. And in this case, it seems like some of these guys are just struggling with that TC in the rear end and trying to put power down. Here is Ilya's speaker up for the race lead, just past halfway in this race. And we have got ourselves a fight for the win.
Of course, Ilya's speaker, one of those drivers in that driver of the day vote. The poll is now up in the YouTube chat. And up the hill we go. We saw Ilya make that lunge early, but has since backed off of some serious attempts to take the lead here. Now looks...
Here we go, up to the inside. A big move. He's going way off, maybe. Opens up the door to the crossover, and sure enough, off the racetrack, there goes Kleber Tavares. I think that is case closed, so long as Kleber controls the rest of this race. Oh, he is gone.
Now one's going to be tough to come back from. Valiant effort from Ilya's speaker, for what it's worth, but wow, just a little too much.
I will say, this may be a popular or unpopular opinion, depending on how I word it maybe, but I think the amateur class brings out the best in just pure driving for the win sometimes in the North American Race League. I mean, Ilya just went straight on through. He was really gunning for it, and I mean, hey, he took a chance. He went for the race win. He saw it in front of him, saw the opportunity. Props to him. He sent it. I mean, that was a proper lick the stamp.
Absolutely, and I think I can see that. I think more of what you see out of the pro and the pro-am races, everything's more calculated and thought out. And here, this is just a 30-minute sprint race. Just send it, and that's what Ilya's speaker did.
I think the other thing with the pros and pro-ams is it turns into very much a strategy race, and excuse me, I actually really enjoy that the AM guys don't have to worry so much about that. We get to see them display their driving skill before they even move up into that strategy battle. I really enjoy taking the pit stop out of the AM race like this, and I hope it's a change that is reflected in the next GT3 season, because I think this just makes for some fantastic action, as we've got Matthew Shervick, Charles Hosea, Jay Davis. I had to pause there and get my bearings about me. As Hosea is back up into nearly the top 15. He's moving through the field quickly, and Bernardi just lost a spot to Joe Nagy.
Move Joe Nagy into the top 5, and Joe is somebody who's worked their way up. That was from the 8th position where Vase started, and just continuing to trek through the field at the misfortune of others. How about this battle?
Philip Bedurka on Chip Witt. This now for 13th position. Bedurka having a good day at the office. Has left his teammate behind, very much so, in Don Gottlieb, who now runs 22nd spot. So Philip trying to join his teammate Joshua Lyon further up in the field, and he's going to go on by, it looks like. Chip Witt deep there into Interlagos. Opportunity as well for Jay Robinson as they head up the hill.
if gap car. That was beautiful. Perfectly timed for Philip Bederka. Gets the spot. All nice and clean.
That's that R2 to intimidate, and when they make the mistake, roll off the brake, fight on through. That was beautiful.
Yup.
Really enjoyed seeing that. There are some battles further back. Don Gottlieb, Dean Kerman. Look at this line of race cars, including the lone Maradnes M Squad entry, I believe, left in this amateur class of Dean Kerr for car 84. So just some good racing back here, deeper in the field. A lock up there out of Sean Patterson, and Kerr looks to the outside there, backs up. Again, we're seeing these guys just flat out race and make a few mistakes. It's way fun to watch. This is kind of, I think, the how do you put it? It's like the support class that actually ends up being a little better than the feature of the night at a local short track. It's probably not the best example for road guys, but for oval, for sure, I think that's the best way to put it. As there goes Chip Witt right back on through. It's the action class. There we go.
You could say the same. Say Formula 2. Maybe brings a little bit more action than Formula 1.
Chip Witt, Brian Robinson, and Philip Bederka. Right, actually, sorry, Jay Robinson, the other Robinson fighting here. He's going to put it 3 wide, or he thought about it. They squeeze and make contact into the seat of the Lago. Off the racetrack goes Bederka.
Wow. Can you imagine if he stayed in it?
He'd have had both those spots.
Yeah. Oh, man, almost a 2-for-1 special. Wouldn't have that to done anything.
Let's go back and again watch the action class in action down to turn 4 to Cedar Lago here. Watch Philip Bederka, Jay Robinson, Chip Witt, these guys on down to this corner. Robinson peaks, backs out, and I don't know if Chip didn't quite realize how much space there was or thought he had to give room for the third car. I'm not sure. But just bled over a little bit under braking into Philip Bederka and squeezes the 70 car off the racetrack. There was also a moment for Sean Patterson. He has now fallen back to the 26th position with Adam Ballard right behind. So problems for both of these drivers in today's race. Rodrigo Arantes as well. A bit of a disappointing run, I have to be honest, is he's got some big time rear damage. Running 14th, not 14th, running car 14 and 25th. 14th would be great compared to this. Just a bad day, unfortunately, for Rodrigo. Hopefully he can get back to it next week in Germany.
Yeah, absolutely. Put a nice bow tie in the season. Try to end it up on a positive note. Maybe go get him next season.
Here we go, back at it. Oh my goodness. Add Charles Hosea to the fight now. 13, 14, 15, 16. No. Bederka. Around and back on the racetrack here. He might get hit. Oh, that was close. Others coming on through, splitting him 3. And Bederka now to 21st with a lot of damage from contact there in the Senna S. Let's take a look at it once again.
Philip Bederka, who started 26th, worked his way up, I mean, nearly into 12th, and that's unfortunate.
Hosea thought there was room, but Bederka was coming over. Let's see how that started, actually, into turn 1. Witt and Robinson were side by side. Bederka here, he tries to follow Robinson on the inside. And here comes Hosea being an opportunist. I think you maybe have to burp the throttle a little bit. It's so hard to tell a racing driver to check up, as now Jay Robinson's in trouble live. This is a weird spot to be in. Here's the replay of it, though. Hosea, oh my goodness, the same deal.
Oh, no.
The exact same situation.
You have a quota to hit.
Oh. What it looks like is, I mean, Charles, of course, has to get back through the field. As Dean Kerr now is backwards. He's trying to get those points for his season. I think he's being a true opportunist, right? He sees a gap, tries to put a car there. What eventually is the case is that driver is planning their turn in. They're trying to get an arc into the corner, and they've already planned. They've already made their decision of where they're going in the corner, and at that point, they can't move to accommodate for that nose to the inside of them, as there goes Rodrigo Arantes around. Paul Iordano, Billy Bowerman right in front of them. Goes around here in the Senna S. That is a bad spot.
Oh, no. Oh, backs it into the wall. Bowerman just got in deep into turn 1, overcooked it, and the rear end came around. This is a chaotic Interlagos race. I guess as it should be.
We said it might be calm. It has been very much the opposite. At least for the amateur class. They have been very much... But you know what? I think it's still been calmer than last week at Monza. That's why it feels a bit calmer. It's certainly still chaotic. Certainly still exciting. But at least we didn't wad up 25 cars to get the day going. Here's Gary Weaver, Volker Krebs, and Wendell Lira. And I will just specify, I would love to see that racetrack last week make an appearance again. Maybe for the GT3 schedule when cars have more differences. We've got problems. Jay Davis backwards, way back here. This is back in turn 10. Not sure what's gone into all of this. Sean Patterson boots him off the course. And he just hangs on, and now Dean Kerr is in trouble for Maradness M Squad, making an unplanned trip down the pit lane. But I do think there's something to having Monza combined on a road schedule. It just presents so many oddities and such a great challenge. I think it has a place, especially, like I said, in GT3 seasons down the road with cars making differences, more than, of course, just a field of Porsche Cup cars. But it was chaotic. It was definitely what we expected in the chaos compartment.
I think if there was a way to ensure that lap 1 goes clean, I mean, that would have been an epic race. I think we would have had at Monza last week.
If we could take the green into Parabolica.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that would have calmed things down a little bit. Here is Gary Weaver, Volker Krebs, Wendell Lira, just at the back end of the top 10. All fighting for some valuable points. And as the season comes close, I mean, how much do you want to push? I think these guys, they're all safe from promotion, but some of these drivers in the series might want to think about it. That said, we've seen a big-time crackdown lately on drivers sandbagging potentially. Potentially. Those are my own words. Potentially sandbagging to be in a class, they get bumped up. And whether they're intentionally sandbagging or not, maybe they were just a lower I rating because they ran less officials, ran more league races, who knows. But a driver with a lower I rating than their skill is in the series, they're getting bumped up. We've seen that multiple times. 6 drivers in 2 weeks have been promoted, Emerson. We're readjusting those classes, making the racing more close.
Yeah, it's intriguing for sure. You know, you kind of feel for them at this point of the schedule. But you understand, you know, why it's done. It's all done, you know, for competition's sake and to ensure that everything is ran fairly. Just wish there was an easier way to tell this earlier in the season instead of having it happen so late.
Well, we can tell right now that Joshua Lyon has been closing in on Avon Dorsey for 3rd. And as they start to work into lap traffic, I believe that's Billy Bowerman straight up the road. Lyon has a great opportunity. At the same time, Dorsey will have an extra defense mechanism to draft off of Bowerman if he catches him at the right time. And I think whether he catches him here on the front stretch or for the Retta Aposta, I think this might actually be okay for Avon. He's got 2 opportunities potentially. It'll look like probably just out of Curva de Sol onto the Retta Aposta to draft off of Bowerman. Regardless, that's going to be key. At least to hang on to this podium spot.
There.
Yeah, he did. Very close through the Senna S. They haven't closed in as much as I would think on Billy Bowerman, but they are closing. And there might be a sniff of draft out there for Avon Dorsey as he closes out of turn 3. And down this backstretch, I don't think that's enough to really help him, but he's staying ahead of Joshua Lyon, at least for now. That last time by was 2 laps to go, by the way, as Bernardi has a look here at Nagy.
Spin up here.
Oh, was that was Bowerman right in front of them? Wow.
Oh, wow.
Right in front of those 2 drivers we were just talking about and watching. Here's the onboard for Billy. The trouble corner so far today, the Interlagos pops the curving, and weight transfer gets loose. That might be what it is. It's just a matter of weight transfer.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Because so many cars have lost it there. I feel like that.
Gary Weaver fighting his way to the left side there of Volker Krebs. Booted off the course a tad bit, shouldered if you will. Now he fights back ahead of Wendell Lira. This for the 8th, 9th, and 10th position still, behind Bjorn Stange there in the foreground. and Gary might race a little bit more aggressively when he gets back to that 53 car. Gary's going to be joining us for the pro race, much like he did in the season opener back at Detroit. So he'll be in the booth in about 2 more, well, I guess probably 5-7 more minutes, something like that, but in another lap's time, if you will.
Yeah, Elbows out racing. He's going to be up here all sweaty, as this is some great stuff. Lira nearly sticking his nose to the inside, still wants to get down to the inside of Weaver. Don't hit that pit wall now, as they go side by side across the line.
Weaver defensive into turn 1. It'll be a nice opportunity at the switchback, though, for Wendell Lear to put the power down and try and drive up the right side of that 75. No dice. They will stay in the same formation. Meanwhile, Avon Dorsey is on Joshua Lyon. This is up the uphill, and oh, I would have stuck it up there. For third position, last lap, I would have gone for it, as Avon Dorsey gives up that third spot to Joshua Lyon, who moves on into the podium position. Behind these guys, Nagy and Bernardi into turn 8 as well, no change. And finally, Volker Krebs and Gary Weaver. A brief chance to watch them before this race ends, and a block there from Volker Krebs. Wow. Up ahead, Kleber Tavares out of turn number 12, the final braking zone in the lap, before he goes and takes a home victory. We haven't talked much about him because he's been that far ahead of the field. The one time we really talked about him mid-race, he was passed for a half a second before Ilya Speaker went off course. And now Kleber Tavares is a North American Racing League winner at his home track, Interlagos. Congratulations, Kleber. 2 weeks in a row, and he does it there with the purple lap time. Lyon comes across and goes third. Nagy and Bernardi to the line. That won't be much of a fight. How about Weaver and Krebs? Krebs losing 2 spots in 1 lap. Weaver by, Lira by.
Wonder how Weaver got through there and why Krebs is down into 10th, but still battling up the hill. It's not over yet. The slipstream might have something to say about it. Lira will... Well, it's given to Krebs there.
It adjusts.
Lira got it.
Yeah. Here's Chip Witt, Otto Rosa, Matthew Shervick. The closest fight now is Philip Paderka and Kerry Corcoran. These guys racing for 17th and 18th. And actually, Nick Polliard and Alan Ballard just swapped spots through turn 10. Back up to Corcoran, he's got to run. For 17th spot, let's see what Kerry Corcoran can do. Up the hill, side drafting Paderka, and to the line. Who's it going to be? I think it was Kerry Corcoran. Yes, he just got him at the line. 7/1000ths of a second.
Oh, that's great stuff.
Polliard.
Drivers,
Polliard comes to the line here, 22nd spot. Ballard, 23rd, Emerson. That was fantastic between Kerry Corcoran and Philip Paderka.
Yeah, they both had rough days, both of them, going around several times, and they're still going at it tooth and nail for some points there in the deep in the midfield, but every point counts, man.
Always so worth it to grab those extra points. Let's take a look at our unofficial race results. Taking the win today in the amateur class for the 2nd week in a row, Kleber Tavares. Fantastic run out of car 92. Back up front, I think we're going to see him potentially do that a bit more this season. 2 more rounds to do it. Germany and Sebring, and it just seems like he is the most poised driver, most calm driver in this series currently. Ilya Speaker goes 2nd, Joshua Lyon 3rd, and Rockefeller Racing's long-run speed just was not there on this fixed Infinite Racing Services setup, as Avon Dorsey loses 3rd and drops to 4th. Joe Nagy 5th, Samuel Bernardi 6th place, kind of in a field of his own, a little ways back of Nagy by the time the checkers flew, and certainly in a field of his own was Bjorn Stange in 7th. Gary Weaver just gets by Volker Krebs and stays ahead of Wendell Lira for 8th, ahead of 9th and 10th.
Finishing in the 11th position is Keith Wolfer. At 12th, it'll be Brian Robinson. 13th, it'll be Charles Hosea, who he got into it with a couple drivers today. Chip Witt bringing up 14th. Otto Rosa 15th. Matthew Zerwick there in the 16th position. Kerry Corcoran brings it across the line 17th, just 7/1000ths over Philip Paderka. We saw there at the end. It'll be Sean Patterson in 19th and Jay Davis to round out the top 20.
Finishing in the 21st spot. How about not that screen? That screen, Jay Robinson in car 321. Don Gottlieb goes 22nd. Nick Pollard 23rd. Adam Ballard 24th. Ahead of Bowerman, Rodrigo Arantes, Dean Kerr, Robert Guadagnoli, and Joey Raymer never did make the start, but we did have 29 cars join the session this evening. Cleber Tavares takes another race win and is here to talk to us. And Cleber, another fantastic day at the office. You had a challenge for a moment. What was it like when Ilya suddenly went up the inside in turn one?
Hey Andrew, it's a pleasure to be here. And that turn one was very tricky. I was in the mid of the track, and I knew that it would be very hard to make it. But I had to let, and he, thankfully for me, he passed away.
You kind of gave you the track right back to the inside, and you never looked back afterwards, leading all 19 laps of this one. How do you feel for the final 2 rounds of this season? Nürburgring next week on the WEC course, and then Sebring to round out the championship.
Well, I'm very excited for it, but I know that's a very hard challenge. I think we will be even right now. I'm not sure. And he's very fast. He was getting great times. I think that he missed a turn in qualifying, so that was the point that I got the race.
Well, Cleber, congratulations. The stat line across the board started first, currently first. A high of first, a low of first. You never left that top spot this evening. Congratulations. Hopefully we're talking to you next week in Germany.
Yes, Andrew. Thank you. Congratulations on your broadcasting.
Always good to see Cleber Tavares towards the top of the board, and tops the board this evening all the way through this day here at Brazil for the amateur class. How about second place, though? Ilya Speaker. He's lost a few teammates suddenly up in the Pro-Am class, but now carrying the banner here for Rockefeller Racing, certainly not shying away from the challenge, Ilya. P2 tonight. You had a chance there at P1, and you took a chance. We loved seeing it. What was going through your mind there as you shipped it up the inside of turn one?
Yeah, tried that a couple times in practice, and it was about a 50-50 move. I sort of knew that I might lock it up, and was concerned about that, but I was trying to, at first, the beginning of the race, pull a little bit of a gap on the rest of the group, so I wasn't battling too much. I knew Cleber was going to be fast enough to help pull that gap, and once we got there, at that point, was going to start pressuring him a little bit harder, and I went a little bit too deep and locked it up, and after that, the tires were done.
Well, it did seem like you guys, both you and Avon Dorsey, kind of burned the tires up. Of course, this is a fixed setup from Infinite Racing Services, and it clearly is good around the racetrack, but has its... it is a fixed setup for 30 drivers, yeah. So, you're always kind of battling something. What has it been like this season on these setups and trying to fight that as the race goes on?
Yeah, I think the setup's been good. It's really, being able to take care of your tires early enough and not in these cars with the Porsche Cups especially. I think once you lock them up, it doesn't come back. I was trying to cool them down, maybe that would help, but they never came back anywhere near where they were. So at that point, I was just trying to hold on for second and not make a mistake at that point, because I was 2.5, 3 seconds back that whole time and couldn't close that gap on Cleber.
Well, Ilya, you do end up winning Driver of the Day, as Cleber got it last week. We had to give it to somebody else, and you take it this evening with a 50% vote over Joshua Lyon and Samuel Bernardi and your teammate Avon Dorsey. You certainly earned it. And I think especially that move in turn one, you earned it for yourself, certainly for a few style points. Hopefully we're talking to you one spot higher next week at the Nürburgring.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and thanks to you guys, and thanks to Team Rockefeller for the practice and just the pushing. It's a fun team and great guys to work with, so thank you guys for the commentary and NARL. It's a great league.
Glad to have you here for a moment before we say goodbye to the AM class and move on up to the pro guys and your couple of teammates that have moved up. Best of luck to you the rest of the season.
Yep. Thank you, man.
Ilya Speaker, I think you might have been talking there right at the end. Hate to cut him off. Sorry about that, Ilya, but glad we got to talk to him a little bit there, Emerson. And Driver of the Day over Cleber Tavares. Well, Cleber, of course, not on the ballot this week. He will be next week at the Nürburgring, I'm sure. But a great day at the office for Ilya Speaker, taking the Driver of the Day, second place, and a lot of points.
Absolutely. It was a crazy, fantastic race, especially between those two. We saw, Ilya kind of, build up was he going to make that move? He took one look early, didn't really do too much with it, and then, of course, had the big send, but unfortunately, that send kind of was the only send we saw really anyone have anything for Tavares. And I mean, a fantastic round here for the amateurs. A great 30 minutes.
Take a look here at our upcoming broadcasts at Pit Stop TV, and one has been added to the list. Of course, Sunday afternoon, we still go racing with the Sim Pit Radical Series for their final race of the season. It's right back here at Interlagos on Sunday afternoon at 1:30 Eastern, so as Le Mans comes to a close, you can transition over to some Interlagos racing with Radical SR8s for the Sim Pit Radical Series. And Sunday night, if Le Mans still had you tired, you can take a nap, get back up for the Noble Can-Am Series and their first round of their history, really, but of course their season at Homestead Miami Speedway. They're starting things off down in Florida with some late model racing on road courses, and Emerson, this is a really cool series concept. They're not just taking late models on road courses, no. They are running a multi-class series with super late models and late model stocks, and the super late model will be the top class. The late model stocks, though, have the most drivers and are certainly, it's kind of like more recent WEC racing, where you have fewer prototypes and more GT cars, fewer top class cars being the super late models, and more late model stock cars at the bottom class. It's going to be a lot of fun. Trans Am style racing, just an hour, go out there, beat up on these cars, and come back and bring a steering wheel or the trophy back after an hour of racing.
That sounds fantastic. I'm a huge sucker for stock cars on road courses. That sounds like a fun series I'm going to keep my eyes on. And I mean, the Homestead road course, it's a great track. It does not get as much love as it should. And so it'll be fun to see what the Noble Can-Am guys can do.
Yeah, that'll be on the road course through Homestead. I think I mentioned that before. Of course, they are road course racing. Going to Homestead, they're running kind of through the roval, if you will, there at that racetrack. In the infield, a big hairpin right in the center. Come back out to another hairpin and get back onto the racetrack. And then the big oval track there in 3 and 4. Before we go to Nürburgring and actually, we have a week off of the D-Line Racing League, which means we're back in action Thursday, June 15th at the Nürburgring for the North American Racing League, 8:30 Eastern, round 7 next week when we go to Germany. That'll do it for amateur action here at Interlagos. Thanks for joining us, and a big thank you, of course, to our partners with the series, Infinite Racing Services, Muradness, Victorum, and Screw Compressor Service Incorporated, and our partners here at the channel, Whiplash Media, SimCams, ATVO, and CC's Business. We have got pro racing coming up next. Don't miss it. More action coming at you.
And I'm a NARL Porsche Cup driver representing Infinite Racing Services. I'm a race winner and multiple podium finisher on the last NARL GT3 season, so I'll be working to get even better results this championship on a different car. See you all on track.
Hi guys, I am Ricardo Rico from Spain. I drive with Zenit Esports and I will be doing this Porsche Cup season in the North American Racing League.
D-Street, Las Vegas region autocross champion, also an STCA time trial winner, and I've been sim racing for about 6 years.
Hi, I am Dalton Zavadil, driver for SimCity Racing and North American Racing League Porsche Cup driver. I am the 2021 Colorado Karting Tour iRacing Winter Series champion and the 2022 Season 1 Porsche Cup Pro-Am champion.
Olá, meu nome é Jackson Rezende, faço parte da Texaco Race by TK e sou piloto da North American Race League Porsche Cup.
Hey guys, Bruno Do Carmo here from Texaco Racing by TK, Pro World Championship license back in 2017, and now I'm a North American Racing League Porsche Cup driver.
Hello guys, my name is Gustavo Ariel and I'm Texaco Racing by Tony Canan driver, and I'll be driving on the North American Racing League Porsche Cup Championship. Let's go.
My name is Scott Reister. I'm the creator of North American Racing League, also a NARL Porsche Cup driver, broadcasted live by Pit Stop TV.
Hi, my name is John Sedlak, and I race for Firelight Esports in North American Racing League. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/diesel_dad.
Hello, I am Dino Filippa, sim racer from Argentina, current champion, and I will be competing in the championship for the ERS team and also providing the data for each race for the participant drivers.
Hey guys, I'm Marco Saavedra and I'm a NARL Porsche Cup driver representing Infinite Racing Services. I'm a race winner and multiple podium finisher on the last NARL GT3 season, so I'll be working to get even better results this championship on a different car. See you all on track.
Hi guys, I am Ricardo Rico from Spain. I drive with Zenit Esports and I will be doing this Porsche Cup season in the North American Racing League. I hope you can catch with us on the Pit Stop TV broadcast and we will try to give you a good show. See ya!
Hi, my name is Lyubov. I'm full-time streamer, content creator, ambassador for Master and Excel Racing. And also, I'm North American Racing League Porsche Cup driver.
Hey guys, my name's Ryan Kerr. Looking forward to racing in NARL, broadcast by Pit Stop TV again this season. This time in the pro category after last season's good result. Racing again with Mirandas. Looking forward to seeing everybody out on track.
Hi, my name is David Schwartz. I'm 36 years old. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm representing the Mirandas M Squad. In real life, I'm the 2018 D Street Las Vegas region autocross champion, also an STCA time trial winner, and I've been sim racing for about 6 years.
Hi, I am Dalton Zavidal, driver for SimCity Racing and North American Racing League Porsche Cup driver. I am the 2021 Colorado Karting Tour iRacing Winter Series champion and the 2022 Season 1 Porsche Cup Pro-Am champion.
Olá, meu nome é Jackson Rezende, faço parte da Texaco Racing by TK e sou piloto da North American Racing League Porsche Cup.
Hey guys, Bruno Do Carmo here from Texaco Racing by TK, Pro World Championship license back in 2017, and now I'm a North American Racing League Porsche Cup driver.
Hello guys, my name is Gustavo Ariel and I'm Texaco Racing by Tony Canan driver, and I'll be driving on the North American Racing League Porsche Cup Championship. Let's go.
Welcome back to the virtual Interlagos as we get ready for pro racing on the circuit. Qualifying opening up the session now, and well, we have Gary Weaver now joining the broadcast as we had Emerson Arden in the booth for the amateur race. We have an actual driver now out of the North American Racing League, broadcaster turned driver here for NARL action. Good to have you in here, Gary, as we get set to go for 50 minutes of action with not exactly guys that you race with, but guys on teams, if you will, that you race with, if that makes sense. What do you expect here from 50 minutes of racing, a pit stop, and a really wild racetrack?
I'll say a lot of how do I phrase this? Basically, a lot of ignoring that the curbs exist. in the sense that these cars can pretty much eat the curbs. And if you remove the curbs and like kept the grass and everything where it is and just replace the curbs with asphalt, that's probably what the actual racing line would be at this track. These cars can just they're amazing, especially with the pit stop. That's going to be the key thing, is that well, these drivers are lucky. They get a pit stop. We don't in the amateur series. So about 10 to 8 minutes into the race, well, 8 to 10 minutes into the amateur race, I felt my front tires die a little bit. So these guys are going to have to kind of take tire management into account. But again, they're lucky they get a pit stop.
They at least have that chance for tires. They don't usually take it, as it tends to be just a little bit too much time in the box, but it is there. And we do see some drivers go for it when they're having a bad day, and it's certainly a safety net if they need it. Meanwhile, somebody who's having a great season, Dalton Zavadil, rising to the occasion this time around and taking control of this season. 195 points to his name, ahead of Ricardo Rico and Dino Filippa, just staying consistent. Now Scott Reister and Jackson Resende are tied. Alex Jenkins is up to 6th as he's been moved up from Pro-Am. And you can see we're missing 3 drivers. Martin Gramegna, Alex Jenkins, and Luan Hott moved up from Pro-Am into Pro. But you only see one of them in the top 10. Props to Alex Jenkins, who was very much right with these guys. Only 2 points out of the Pro top 5 now that he's been moved up. Marco Saavedra to 8th in the standings. Gustavo Ariel and Love 46 complete your top 10. Thomas Rayleigh now leads over on the Pro-Am side. Same margins for your top 3 as on the Pro side, as Miguel Colon is 3rd. Adam Hartzell, though, and Aubrey Kundal in a 2-way tie for 4th and 5th as we open up round 6. We'll get down trackside as qualifying times are rolling in. Weather conditions here for the pros, just about the same. The temperature's a little bit higher, but just about the same as we saw for the AMs. As first up on the racetrack is Fabio Zamperlini, gets right to the top of the board here, ahead of David Schwartz, John Kroon, Robert Pendergrast, and some others. But I doubt that time is going to last. A 1:34.261. We've got some big-time heavy hitters coming up, including this guy, Marco Saavedra. Martin Gramegna is on track out of South America. Jackson Resende, a lot of home races for these guys, for Jackson Resende and Luan Hott and plenty others in this field.
I'd say it gives them essentially a home field advantage too, because no doubt Brazilians are very, very passionate. From what I understand from watching open wheel racing, they are insanely passionate about their racing series here when it comes to Interlagos. So it's a bit of an advantage. I'm pretty sure they've had hundreds and hundreds of laps at this track.
Absolutely. And even I'd say Iberians on iRacing tend to claim this is like a second home track as well, just because of the relations and culture. But here we go. Enrique Poletti looks like teammate to Rodrigo Arantes, who had a pretty strugglesome amateur race not so long ago. Hopefully Enrique can do a little better there, as Fabio Zamperlini, home driver, does go to the top of the board once again, ahead of Dalton Zavadil. And how about this? Texan Scott Reister at the top of the board here in qualifying, as we await some big-time pro lap times. We'll see how that will stand the test of time potentially, as Thomas Rayleigh is quicker than our current pro points leader. I'm all over the place, but somebody who wasn't is Marco Saavedra at the top of the board. Further down the list, Robert Pendergrast 7th in car 123 and out of the Mid-South Club. Jackson Resende to 6th, and now Gustavo Ariel. He's shown up in car 12, straight up to pole.
Not only straight up to pole, but straight up to pole by what, just about 0.6 of a second. That is a fast lap, and I'm wondering if anyone's either going to be able to fill that gap. There's still a few drivers that have not set a time just yet, but maybe I wonder if anyone could dethrone him from the provisional pole.
And I mentioned a bunch of the driver class promotions. Let's start from the bottom and work our way up. And I mentioned Martin Gramegna has been moved up to the pro class. Didn't quite like that. In fact, he's still got his Pro-Am decals on his car. But hey, he's just so quick at this point. He deserves to get moved up. Has been right in the Pro-Am fight, and is right now in the pro fight to get into the top 10 in standings. Another driver moved up from Pro-Am to pro is going to be, I got to look for him, Luan Hott in car 25 now with the pro class decals on that 25 car. And then Alex Jenkins, who was 5th in qualifying, now matching with those guys in blue at the top of the board. 9/10 off of pole speed currently. He's definitely got it. Of the 3 guys moved up to pro, I think he is the most capable right now and currently showing it in this qualifying session. And then some drivers were moved up recently from amateur to Pro-Am, those being John Kroom in car 45, Chris Sanchez in car 3, and look for the 169 if he's still on track, Milan Harris, as Dino Filippa to the top of the board. And Gustavo Ariel follows up with a heater, taking pole by 4/100ths of a second. And Texaco Racing by TK, I mentioned them at the top of the show, Gary. They are here. They have woken up. They are taking this one by storm, as they always do.
And did a fantastic job. Not only a fast lap, but a fast lap just by that narrow of a margin. So that's going to be looking, that's going to be very, very battle to look forward to when we get into the race here.
2 minutes left in qualifying. Most everybody has their times in, but drivers who are still qualifying include Chris Sanchez, as actually it looks like it'll just be a lap around to practice maybe pit entry for him. Miguel Colon is on track, though. He just began lap number 3 and is about 2.5 seconds off of pole so far in 26th spot. We'll see if he can gain anything. How about Dominic Turcotte? He's going to come around and wrap up his qualifying effort in just a moment. 2.568 seconds off pole. At a 135.486, needs to be a 135.439 to move up, and he does that, moving from 29th up to 27th ahead of Stacy Bertrand, so grabbing 2 spots. Here's Miguel Colon, car 87, and Ricardo Rigo. He could have something. Watch out for this guy, our lone Iberian in the series. Ricardo Rico, only 2.5 off a pole here. Gary, does he have anything?
Oh, let's see. As he crosses the start-finish line, 2.5 as you said.
Ooh,
and
he's close.
Oh,
not close enough. He goes to second, though, ahead of Dino Filippa. He was close, not close enough. 36/1000ths of a second off of pole there for car 51. A solid lap time as our top 10 are all pro drivers this evening. Top Pro-Am driver is Thomas Rayleigh in 11th. Here's Miguel Colon back on the throttle, past Subito dos boxes, and up to our start-finish line. Trying to beat a 135.336. Next time to beat is a 135.254, and he will do that and then some. He's moving up at least 1 spot, I think 2, yes. From 26th to 24th for Miguel Colon, now right behind Milan Harris in the 169, who was just bumped up to this Pro-Am class. Chris Sanchez, another driver moved up recently. It's good to see these guys moving up, but you know, we miss now the nomination from those 3 guys, and we get to see them kind of earn their stripes here in the pro race. Gary, I know you're going to be a season away from being moved up for sure. You have a little bit of ways to go as a driver to grow and move up, but it's interesting seeing these guys go up from that very different AM race to being right thrown to the wolves here for the pro race.
I don't know about me. The open setups terrify me. What are you talking about? Hopefully, maybe, we'll see. It depends. I don't know. But if anyone's looking for a driver for their team, hi, hello, I may or may not be available, depending. But anyway, grid time.
That it is, as you take a look at the race details, brought to you by Whiplash Media Simcams. A 50-minute pro race, 50% fuel limit, open setups, and 1 pit expected with tires available, though they're rarely taken. Let's get down trackside and take a look at our starting order this evening. From Brazil, Gustavo Ariel on pole. Ricardo Rico will start from second. Starting third is Dino Filippa, who was assessed a 5-point penalty after last round at Monza. Marco Saavedra will start from fourth, his teammate. So Infinite Racing Services teammate there on the second row. Ahead of Martin Grimigna, recently moved up to the pro class, and you can see why. And Scott Reiser joining him in the third row. Lawrence Zavadil, Dalton Zavadil, whatever you want to call him, he's quick. He starts from 7th. Alex Jenkins, also a recent promotion up to pro class. He'll start from 8th. Rounding out your top 10, it's a couple of Brazilians. Fabio Zamperlini, Jackson Resende.
And Thomas Rayleigh will start 11th. 12th place is going to be David Schwartz. Robert Pendergast starts off in 13th. John Kroom 14th. Rounding out the top 15 is Chris Sanchez. Luan Hott starts off in 16th place position. with Paletti starting off in 17th, Love 46, and the 46 starts in 18th, with Zachary Deuce starting 19th, and Alex Bergstrom rounding out the top 20. Alec Bergstrom, I should say.
Starting 21st, it's Aubrey Kundle in car 53 ahead of Matthew O'Leary for M Squad. Starting 23rd, Milan Harris, Miguel Colon 24th, 25th, 26th, it's Johan Shirazi and Scott Angelo. Starting 27th today at Brazil, it's Dominic Turcotte ahead of Stacy Bertrand, and to complete your top 30, Christian Gritzko and Armando Bejaran, who had a fantastic day in the top 5 in Pro-Am last week at Monza. And finally, your couple last drivers, your last row on the field, Adam Hartzell and Sean Campbell. Right back down to the grid as we get ready to go racing here for 50 minutes in the Pro and Pro-Am class. The Pro race is green from Brazil. And already Alex Jenkins up to the inside of Scott Reister in turn 1. 3 wide through the center S. Right in the middle. Dalton Zavio going for spots. He's got him and moves over in front of Alex Jenkins as Dino Filippa serves a pit lane start. It's not going to hinder him much. He's right in the mix as they head onto the red Opasta. Dino in 8th, fresh off the pit lane, now 9th as he falls back, racing here with Jackson Resende and Fabio Zamperlini. One car out wide, that was Martin Grabigna, who's now 4th.
All these drivers are going to be absolutely thundering down here to the right-hand kink. Still side by side between Alex Jenkins and Dino Filippa. Filippa with the unlucky outside lane. He makes contact a little bit, but tracks out wide, just hangs on to it.
Filippa fighting back from a pit lane start and a 5-point penalty to start this round. He slides in front of Alex Jenkins. That's for 7th. Jenkins now to 8th. Fabio Zamperlini 9th. Jackson Resende 10th. So certainly it was a hindrance to Dino, but I think not what we were planning. It was meant to put him to the rear of the field, as there goes Resende on through for 9th. And you can see a battle right behind him, David Schwartz and Thomas Rayleigh, Fabio Zamperlini, and others, as we've got cars all over the place mixing it up throughout the field. We'll have one lap complete. Yeah, very clean start. Much like the amateur race, nobody really in trouble through one lap of action. As you take a look at most of the field here to the start-finish line to complete lap 1. Again, I love this speed shot here at Brazil. Cars at terminal velocity up the hill to the Senna S.
See and hear the speed of these cars as they're just coming to the top speed, going down into the braking zone of the Senna S. It is absolutely quick, especially in the slipstream. It doesn't help too much, maybe about 1 or 2 miles an hour, but it's definitely something as we have chaos in the back.
Milan Harris turned around in the middle of the field here, and he's going to quickly tow. Stacy Bertrand now in trouble in the 52 car. She falls back a few spots now to the final car on the racetrack. So trouble there on lap 2. It's always good to have a clean first lap. You never want to have a messy second lap, though. Milan Harris in trouble here out of turn 1.
Look at the replay here as Harris goes into turn 1. Ooh.
Cologne turned in. Harris was in deep. Everybody was just racing for those final few spots, and it's difficult. You know, obviously you want these spots. These guys are racing. They deserve to race, Gary. But what's your view when these guys are literally the last 6 or 7 cars on the racetrack and they wad it up?
It's not entirely worth going for. It's good to evaluate the pace between you and other drivers around you, but enough to the point that you wreck, it's not exactly the best idea. As we see the replay one more time, it's better to be more give than less take.
We haven't seen many crashes today. A lot of off tracks, a lot of spins, single car incidents, but we do have the brand new damage model, NDM7. I think there's something. Anyway, I'm thinking of tire models. Anyways, NDM. There we go. The new damage model on these cars. Wheels can fly off. Body panels can fly off. Wings can fly off. Not many crashes yet today. We might see a few in this pro race. We saw one there. Didn't see much of the damage model, but we saw a little bit in action. Geodesics Johan Shirazi on through to 23rd spot, following Aubrey Kundle now in 22nd as they pass Christian Gritzko. And Dalton Zavadil's got a challenge here. Dino Filippa around the outside. And you can tell Dino has got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. He wants to go out there and get every spot he can.
I think a pattern here with Dino Filippa on the outside lane, but before that, it's going to be the 96 just right all over the back bumper of Alex Jenkins. We do have an Alex and an Alec. That won't be confusing. But into the uphill through the right-hander. That is absolutely amazing. And here through the slow speeds in the middle sector, it's so much fun. It's very technical. You have to kind of pretty much take this turn relatively narrowly right on board, then try and keep the car to the right-hand side as much as possible, at least in the amateur race, as these guys do the exact opposite of what I was expecting.
One car out of the race, Milan Harris done before lap 3, even, as these guys come around to complete the third lap of racing here at Brazil. Dino Filippa all over Scott Reister. And this will be a fun little fight up the hill to turn 1. I'd imagine Scott will play it safe. He always does, and sure enough, gives a wide berth to Dino there on the left side to go up to turn 1 and take that spot away. Alex Jenkins had that miracle of Resende through the mid portion of the lap, has now set a couple of tenths between those two drivers and sets his sights on Reister. A good, clean start to this race, but Thomas Raley has got to stay honest here. It's not far between himself and John Kroom now for the top Pro-Am spot, and we're seeing already John Kroom moved up to Pro-Am. He's certainly making the most of it. Second place here today at Brazil.
So far, it's a great job by Ricardo especially. It's going to be a long race, but it's great to establish himself early, as establishing himself right on the inside line and pushing him off track. Herself, rather, it was 11:46, I believe that was.
No, that was actually Sanchez off the racetrack as Bergstrom took a look up the inside. And here's Zachary Deus now. A couple of M Squad teammates fighting for 17th and 18th. Just behind Love 46, who runs in the 16th spot. Matthew O'Leary in this fight as well. So 3 Miranda's M Squad drivers in a line, with a few other sprinkled on in with. We've got Chris Sanchez, actually 4 of them, because Scott Angelo is here in the dark M Squad car. Right with the geodesic driver of Johan Shirazi. There goes Chris Sanchez. Tipped around by Angelo, and broadside, that's going to collect Gritsko. Yep, Gritsko off in the dirt.
Oh.
Cologne's got trouble, and Gritsko. That might be our first good test of the damage model.
Cologne's able to get going, luckily. Man. Cologne that's unfortunate, especially for Cologne. He was about to get going, and then the rear tires were just barely on the grass. And that just didn't help him at all.
There is Miguel Colon back rolling, but in 23rd position. Back up to the front. We usually see a strategy race for the pro, but, well, things have changed a little bit, I gotta be honest. A 1.4 second gap is not what I expected here, but Gustavo Ariel, clearly he's got this place figured out, as you would expect from a Brazilian in his native race. Ricardo Rico has a 1.5 seconds to make up, but I don't see that happening tonight. He does have plenty of time back to Marcos Saavedra, 2.3 seconds in that department, but definitely we're seeing these guys be able to control their own races, and that hasn't always been the case. We've seen draft races, fuel-saving races, as Gritsko and Shirazi have problems in the back of this field. Gritsko's already towed. Shirazi's around at the Cito del Lago and gets back rolling, but we have seen races before where it's been a strategy, fuel-save race, and you have to use some team orders. It won't be that way today. Based on the first 8 minutes of this one, Gary, Gustavo has set sail.
Gustavo is on a charge. The last time by, well, actually, wait, to be the specific lap times, but the last time by the start-finish line for the front two, they were just about a tenth off, if not maybe 0.08 of a second between them. So waiting for the times to come through. 133.747. Rico had, for Ariel, Rico about a 33.856. So again, it's just that constant 1/10. These two are running pretty much equal lap times right now.
Ricardo Rico there in the background. Marcos Saavedra a little further back with Dino Filippa catching up. And, we're not going to have data for this reason. You can see Dino had to start from the pit lane. Data will not load for his name now. He had a penalty from last race at Monza. I'll be honest, when Scott sent that message through, I wasn't really expecting that. I had to really think, and I still am not sure where that contact even happened between those two drivers, between Dino and Rico last week at Monza, but a penalty was issued, and car one had to start from the pit lane. This is a rare oddity. He only spent, well, again, data won't load, but only spent 1.7 seconds in the box before he went on by. I don't know if that's just the difference between standing and rolling starts, but it really made no difference at all, as he just had to give a couple of spots up and is now running in fourth, which I think is where he qualified. As David Schwartz has got a problem.
He might have had a little bit of help, and yep, he did. He's kind of, this is going to be awful for him. I think, yeah, he's deciding to start looking through the field. He'll just tow.
Here's the contact. Luan Hot, a new pro driver, just gets into the back of him and sends him out into the barrier.
I do wonder. I'm going to make sure it's the correct portion of the track that I'm looking at. Maybe it's just a slower exit than Hot was expecting.
Moving on board, back live with Jackson Rosende, following Alex Jenkins, Scott Reister, and Martin Gramigna. And something has changed this season for Scott Reister. Fourth in the standings coming into this round. I think Emerson would know for sure that Scott has definitely changed something in his game. He is fantastic this season in this Porsche Cup car. And I think now we see why this series keeps coming back. We have great GT3 racing, but he's got to mix it up. He's suddenly finding a liking, it feels like, in this Porsche car as, iRacing has crashed. Well, folks, that's one of those moments. We will be apparently right back as iRacing decided to stop working. We'll be back in a few. Welcome back to the virtual Interlagos. Hey, sometimes that just happens. Really not sure what just went on there with iRacing, but it crashed right off the screen. You guys saw what I saw. So getting back into the session, and we have still got an interesting race unfolding before our eyes, Gary. Really, nothing has changed out front. Martin Gramigna still trying to hold off Scott Reister and Alex Jenkins. They have spaced out now, though, and I don't see Jackson Rosende in the same position. What happened there?
So what happened was Rosende had tried to get to the right-hand side of Alex Jenkins. I forget which corner or turn it is specifically, so I'll get that in just a couple of moments. But it was just a bit of contact, a little bit of door-to-door contact. Rosende didn't get fully punted off track or anything. It was just a little bit of contact. Both drivers going for the same space. Rosende got turned sideways. Alex was able to keep going. So Rosende did lose a couple positions, but he is able to keep going. However, Scott Angelo was temporarily not going for a second there.
Yeah, Scott Angelo in trouble. Here's a look at it, turn 4. This seemed to be the trouble spot for you guys in the AM race as well, and Scott just got back to the throttle. Seems like the rear end whipped around. Now, you guys were on a fixed setup from Infinite Racing Services, and no matter what setup shop builds it's going to be tough to build a fixed setup that works for every driver. These guys, though, are on an open setup. What is it about the Desierto del Lago here at Interlagos that throws these Porsches into a spin?
Honestly, no idea, because it's not a fixed setup. I haven't had the issues with it. I was able to keep the curbs take that curb relatively aggressively and follow the car in front, provided it didn't touch the grass, of course. But it did catch me off guard a couple times, but only because of the curb. So a little bit of a contact there to Luan Hot by Thomas Rayleigh, who really wants to get going.
All the way around.
Jackson Resende to join in.
That was actually Rayleigh getting bumped by Resende. Resende is here trying to get by our Pro-Am leader, and conventionally, prior to this week, oh wow, contact again there in turn 4. Resende does know the course a whole lot better, I'd say, but conventionally, Luan Hot would be racing for the Pro-Am lead just ahead of Thomas Rayleigh in this case, never mind Alex Jenkins and Martin Grabigna up the road. But that is no longer the case. Luan, of course, now a pro driver and showing why he's in the top 10. So Thomas Rayleigh is our Pro-Am leader, and he has got Resende right on his bumper, literally in a couple of cases. That bump in Curva del Sol and again in Desierto del Lago shows the impatience here from car 96. You mentioned his mistake. He needs to get going back by these guys.
And Resende has just been, he'll probably go for it right here. Let's see.
There he goes.
There he
wow.
goes. Yeah, Resende's on a charge right now. He wants to get back up to the front here, or at least back to about the 8th place where he's at. He's been making ground, so he is, of course, a little bit faster, but he is having not the best day, but not the worst so far.
Rayleigh saw it coming that time and got out of the way. Meanwhile, Love 46 just lost a spot. And now Zachary Deus, the same deal, but he's going to lose a few more positions. He's out in the dirt. And much like Adam Ballard in the amateur race, Zachary has found himself in a very odd piece of racetrack. Inside rather, of turns 12 and 13. A really difficult place to get to, but if you spin just right, you end up there no matter what. This is a look back inside the top 10. Martin Grabigna, Scott Reister, and Alex Jenkins. On board here with Jenkins, he's the top of the drivers that have been promoted. That's our biggest headline, if you can't tell. It's a big time mix-up, if you will, for a driver mid-season to be promoted up a class. I don't think it's changing much operationally and effectively for these guys. They're likely doing the same thing, maybe a little more testing as Grabigna makes a mistake there at the apex of turn 10. That opens the door. Jenkins is going to have a chance here for turn 12 at Gungsao and might move on through. No dice. Will not go by Grabigna there in turn 12, at least not this lap. He's going to have to get a draft and try in turn 1 maybe. I don't think much is really changing here, Gary, for the guys that moved up. Other than they've now got to think about it in that larger picture, right? Fewer mistakes, maybe a little more practice.
And especially maybe, of course, not only a little bit more practice, but also a little bit more fine-tuning of the setup if they need that. As we see, continue to watch this brewing battle, essentially, as they go into the Senna S.
And Resende up another spot, top 10 again.
Sunday is just, again, on a charge, and I did manage to finally find the corner. It was turn 10 where Resende had gone quite literally sideways. If I remember correctly, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, it should be a Bico de Pato.
Yes, Bico de Pato, yep.
If I remember correctly, that's probably one of the most fun corner names to say out loud for Interlagos.
There's some good ones here. Curva del Sol, Desierto del Lago, Bico de Pato, Subido dos Boxes. This is some really good corner names here at Interlagos, at least for us English speakers that can't quite nail the Portuguese for the rest of the corners. But here's an onboard look with John Kroom out of Georgia, challenging Thomas Rayleigh here for the Pro-Am lead. And we don't see many Georgian drivers on the roadside do quite as good as John has in recent seasons here in the North American Racing League. I mean, he has been fantastic this season, especially up from AM and really showing his driving chops here. 13th place overall in our pro race at Brazil this evening. That is very much outperforming the guys that were moved up with him. Chris Sanchez in 26th and Milan Harris currently in 31st and out of the race.
We'll see what John can do, of course. He might have something in mind for a little bit of fuel saving, too, because he could just sit behind Thomas Rayleigh and save maybe a little bit of extra fuel, maybe about half a lap. But otherwise, everything's going up pretty well for Kroom so far as they go by Scott Angelo there.
Yeah, Scott Angelo, our one car running that is lapped as he drops into the 28th position. Love 46 coming in early. This is very early, but could be a strategy attempt from Love 46. Really do not expect 2 pit stops. This is very early, and it's not a stop and go. It's not a touch and go. She's definitely at least taking fuel. 9.9 seconds. That is consistent with what we expect for fuel. I guess just coming in at the earliest opportunity. Armando Bejeron doing the same.
Looks to be the proverbial pit window is pretty much open. It is, now 30 minutes left in this race, so I'll see how things go as Love 46 is going to be coming out just behind, actually, Miguel Colon.
Johan Shirazi going to make a pass here into Decido del Lago, or at least going to try, and will complete that pass for 23rd. Up the road, Dominic Turcotte and Enrique Poletti. This is for 18th. And Pickleman himself, Turcotte, will hang on to 18th spot. And Poletti will have to keep trying in that very Brazilian-looking AC7 machine. Good to see this team adding a driver to their lineup here in the North American Racing League. Brand new, to me anyways, don't know much about AC7E Racing Team, but their presence with Rodrigo Arantes has been noted in the YouTube chat for sure. And Enrique Poletti here making some big moves now in the pro class as well. Well, pro-am class, pro race, as he rides the 19th spot. A teammate switch up the road, 3rd and 4th. Dino Filippa on through to 3rd position over Marcos Saavedra in 4th. So that's a big-time move. This is actually now how they qualified, by the way. Dino 3rd quick in qualifying, Marcos 4th. I'm honestly surprised that it happened this quickly. Again, you go back to the pit lane start for Dino. He was supposed to be at the back of the field for lap 1, ended up coming out 1.7 seconds behind the rest of the field, and not the rest of the field, in the middle of the top 10.
Oh man, it's wild, and especially like you mentioned, it's the order they qualified in. So, gosh, it's a lot. There's still a long way to go for these guys, so they do have a lot to look ahead for, and they do have their own team in mind as well. And again, Filippa is just on an absolute tear. I can't believe it.
Following Dino here as he works onto the front stretch, 9 seconds behind our race leader. I'm noticing suddenly Ricardo Rico has got some pace. He's now down to 1.3 seconds behind Gustavo Ariel. I don't know if it's just a bit of a detour lately, if Gustavo's trying to save his tires a bit as we work into the mid portion of this race. The weather is not hot. 83-degree track temp is more than tame here for these guys, although we are seeing that sudden rise that I talked about during the amateur coverage of, right around 11 o'clock in sim, it's going to start to get a little more warm. But it's still not that hot as, unfortunately, Pickleman himself, as that's a name I'm just now giving him. Dominic Turcotte around, that is out of turn 12.
I wonder what happened here. Did he touch the curb a little bit?
He's going to have a massive hit. Take a look here. This is on board with Dominic.
That's the reason he towed. He tried to get going, but his steering was damaged. We'll see right here. This corner is very touchy with full throttle, and we'll see right here. He doesn't even touch the curb, exits the corner and the downhill, tries to keep it off the wall, but that is a hit to the left front that definitely broke his steering. You can see he's tried to pull away, but it's dragging. It will not go.
I think, well, it might have destroyed the left front, but it sounded more like the left rear maybe half shaft broke, and it was trying to accelerate, and he just had not enough or no power to that car. I don't know if
both, yeah.
I don't know if there's gonna be a great angle, but yeah, he's doing a one-wheel peel there with the right rear.
Yeah, he did break the left rear too.
Well, the half shaft broke in there on the 73. Well, one more bites the dust, unfortunately. Hate to see that for Dominic Turcotte. He was doing fantastic in the mid-20s, or maybe in the top 20. I think it was right with Poletti, so I think it was for 18th position that he was riding in, and unfortunately now out of this race. a longtime driver here in the North American Racing League, just trying to get another race under his belt. And unfortunately, it has come unraveled. Meanwhile, Gramigna and Jenkins, two guys that a week ago were fighting for the Pro-Am Championship, are now 6th and 7th, with Jenkins coming into today 6th in the Pro standings. Let's take a look at this again. Jenkins, 6th right there behind Jackson Resende and ahead of Fabio Zamperlini. And a big part of the reason that he's this far up in the Pro class was last week's run at Monza, where he even led a lap.
Monza last week was something, I can say that much. It wasn't what I was originally expecting until I took a closer look at what the track layout was, and then I got a bit concerned, and we all saw how that went.
Alex Jenkins right on the back end still, and yeah, very much used that track layout to his, I guess, benefit last week. We really had no clue what to expect other than a little bit of chaos at the start. We saw that. The oval sections just a little bit chaotic for these Porsche Cup cars, but we welcome it, and it was a fun challenge to watch last week as Ricardo Rico, right as we pass halfway, has closed in to a half second behind our race leader. While we watch these two, let's do our rounds. It's halfway through. Driver of the day is on our minds here, Gary. We saw Ilya Speaker take it down in the amateur race. And we've got some very, very valid options here in the Pro and Pro-Am class. And now a few that I think are going to surprise us for Pro-Am nominations. Let's go on through the field. I'm going to take first. I took first with Emerson earlier. Excuse me. I usually throw JP on the spot, but I'll be a little bit nicer. You guys are filling in for 1 week. As Alex Jenkins, by the way, goes on by Martin Gramigna. This is a great fight to watch, actually, for 6th and 7th, and it gives me another chance to stew over some options. I think I'm going to go with Fabio Zamperlini as my promo nomination. This is a guy that, yes, he's got a GT3 championship under his belt, as these two fight fantastically. These guys would be great options as well, by the way, in their first pro race, or I guess pro class race. But catching them right behind them is Fabio Zamperlini in 27th position. In car 27, in 8th position, rather. This is a great return to normalcy, if you will, for Fabio. He used to be a top 10, top 3 driver even every single week. It's been a long road to get back to the top 10 for him this evening, but recent strength certainly showing through for Fabio Zamperlini. It's good to see, especially at his home race for Duck Hawk Racing, a little bit of strength back in the 27 car. He is my pro nomination. Gary, pro class, who you got?
Oh man, I want to say Alex Jenkins because it's been a relatively silent day for Alex, but he's been consistent. And he hasn't really dropped down the order really at all. I partially want to go with Ricardo Rico too, because we could be seeing a absolutely impressive battle here as Gramigna locks up the left front, trying to stay ahead of Zamperlini. He barely avoids contact. I think he just barely tapped him. Wow.
That was crazy. We have to go back and take a replay of that, right? I mean, that was so close. I thought they were making contact, if not taking each other out there. So this is going back, the battle between Gramigna and Zamperlini. I'll let you keep having your conversation as this one plays out.
Oh, yeah, I want to go with Ricardo Rico because, I think I would switch to Ricardo Rico. Oh, I'm not sure. This is why I don't like picking. Because I can only choose one. I don't like choosing one. As we see, barely.
Wow, that was
That's good that
close.
They didn't have any larger contact than they did, and this is going to be a great view. Just barely right there. Whew. Great job by both of them to not make any further contact. I'll stick with Alex Jenkins. He's looking to be in the run as well for a top 5. He's catching Scott Risker as well. So my pro pick is going to be Alex Jenkins because he's been consistent. He's been doing great, and he's only going up so far, save for pit stops, of course.
There you go. Your pro options are Alex Jenkins and Fabio Zamperlini. Jenkins has won it a couple of times as a Pro-Am driver, but not as a pro driver. Fabio Zamperlini, I think, is really turning some heads now, 7th on the racetrack, back to where he maybe should be. For Pro-Am, got to do a little bit of searching for that class, as the top driver now is 12th today. A little bit of a detour from what we've seen this season, as this is a look for the race lead from Ricardo Rico down to turn 4 to Interlagos. Big block from Gustavo. Ricardo comes back over and follows. It was a little bit maybe of a showing of the hand, and that was a great catch As we've got one pitting, Jackson Resende in the pit lane and already into his pit box a bit early. From the Pro Class, usually those guys wait much longer, but a quick stop there, 8.73 seconds, as now Ricardo Rico has got to do it all over again to catch Gustavo Ariel, which that gives us an opportunity now to look at some teammates for third and fourth, as we've got a crash. Stacy Bertrand, Adam Hartzell, this is through Sabito dos boxes, and really, these guys just don't want us to finish up driver of the day. Look at it here. Stacey Bertrand, Adam Hartzell up out of Yungsao to Subito dos boxes. Miguel Colon in the middle. That was just not going to work.
No.
That was just, I think, a little bit of aggression that we didn't need to have with 21 minutes left in the race, unfortunately. And it's really handicapped both of these cars. I think the new damage model taking their toll for sure.
Not only with 20 minutes left in the race, but also that's for effectively, what, 19th?
On the racetrack,
where,
yeah.
Cologne is right now. Yeah, it's not the move I would have done. I would have stayed behind both of them and tried to get a run further down, or just backed off. That's I
think he regretted
I hate
it.
to do this. Yeah, he did slow down significantly, being like, "Oh, great." So luckily he knows. And I don't want to rag on him for it. At least he was aware as soon as that happened. Like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, because he did immediately slow down. But that's that could have been a better time to pass.
Let's finally get these Pro-Am Driver of the Day nominations. We have to go John Kroom, I feel like, and I'll take John Kroom here. Second race actually as a Pro-Am driver. First race where he's able to really show some strength, and he is currently second in class to Thomas Rayleigh with a chance to win, as they're only 4/10 apart, flying down the Reta Opasta to turn 4 to Cito del Lago. And no dice there, but John in the conversation potentially for a Pro-Am win in just his second pro race. So a really, really strong effort from Car 45, and that means all eyes turn to you, Gary, for a second Pro-Am nomination for Driver of the Day.
Well, you stole my pick, so I totally agree with John Kroom. He's definitely a very, very good pick for sure. Just because he's been running first throughout the majority of this race, we'll go first in Pro-Am class. Of course, we're going to go with Thomas Rayleigh, because he has been sitting ahead of John Kroom. He has been defending pretty well, so we'll see how things shake out by the end of the race. But that Thomas Rayleigh will be my pick.
Very good choices throughout the field. We've got the 5th, 7th, 9th, and 10th drivers on the racetrack overall, as we've got some pit stops taking place. Resende just pitted. He is on his first lap after the pits. On his out lap, though, was Luen Hott in car 25, just left the pit lane. And also on the out lap, nobody else. So Luen came in that time, and we anticipate a few more this next time through, as Ricardo Rico is closing that gap down once again. This is through to Cito del Lago up to turn 5. Might we see this 51 catch back up for the race lead?
More than likely, he caught him before. Rico did catch Ariel before, so I don't see why not, as Alec Bergstrom goes to the Pro-Am lead, as Rayleigh and Kroom have gone the pit road.
So Emerson will be getting the Pro Driver of the Day poll up very shortly, as we take a look a little bit deeper in the field as drivers work their way back onto the racetrack. Thomas Rayleigh, 16th now after the pits. 10.3 seconds. John Kroom, 9.65. And, this is something that John hasn't had to do this season. Last week at Monza, first time he had to make pit stops of this season number 3. Today, his second pit stop, and making the adjustment quite nicely. Racing here with Thomas Rayleigh. It is a separation now of 2.5 seconds, and I think maybe there was some time lost for John, at least from what he could have gained. It seems like Rayleigh had a much longer trip through the pit lane, and he still gained time.
Rayleigh is just on another level, especially he's still gaining time while being in pit road. I guess that in a sense could have been the advantage of entering pit road first, but again, there's still 18? Nope, I look at that literally 2 minutes ago. Time is weird. We still have 16 and a half minutes left here in this race.
Martin Grimegna off track again.
And,
oh man, it's difficult at that point to keep going as a driver.
Yeah, I think he considered stopping and just towing for a second. I don't know. He almost came to a full stop there, but he's still top 10 overall. And I get that frustration. It's one of those things where it's just, well, what's the point in continuing? He almost had that too, but I think that's the second time he's locked up the left front on the inside lane.
Yeah, earlier, I forget who he was racing with. I think it might have been Alex Jenkins or Scott Reister. That's the replay into the Senna S. And yeah, you saw that the hesitation there for a second to get back going. Like he might have wanted to just park it. And I understand the frustration. Glad he kept racing. Glad he made that decision as he's still in the top 10 currently. Might lose it after pit stops. It's hard to say, but still has a great run going for his first race as a pro driver.
Yeah, he's still having a relatively good race. It's just going to be getting past the frustrations and something to, as we see, Rico dive into pit road first. That is interesting. That is
very close.
Did he make it on time? I'm going to be double checking that. Yes, he did.
Playing with the gears, coming up to the pit box and into the box is Ricardo Rico, getting that angle out a little bit.
A lot. Wow.
Man, that aggressive on entry, you can't make that mistake. Ricardo Rico, though, giving up a little bit of time. That'll make the pit box time. He might have gone down a little bit on the fuel, knowing that he made that mistake. 8.58 seconds. That's not much time. Especially, I think that counts the time him backing up sometimes in the box. So I guess we'd have to go back and look at the replay of the broadcast, but I'm not entirely sure, as now Marcos Saavedra is all over Dino Filippa for the second spot, and they've got Adam Hartzell, that lap car in between, and they get on by.
Pit stop time only counts when they are actually fully in the box, not when they back
there you
up.
go.
So, yeah. It does, of course, it will count on pit lane time, and if anyone wants to know of curiosity, 26 seconds flat compared to, we'll go with Jackson Resende, 23.7 seconds. So it seems to be throughout the field an average of about 24 and a half, 25 seconds, just about. So he basically lost an effective, one and a half seconds?
Yeah.
Which isn't bad.
Given the circumstance, not bad, but not what he wants at all. Here's a look at Chris Sanchez racing with Love 46. Not a combo we thought we'd see at the start of the season. As Dino Filippa, is he headed to the pit lane this lap maybe? He lets Marcos Saavedra go through. Gustavo Ariel is into the pit lane. I think this is the lap for everybody. Marcos Saavedra, is he going to come on in? The answer is yes. Here he comes along with Dino Filippa. Oh, and Dino! Wow, the aggression on pit entry.
Dino just wants to get...
He's slowed down though. Look at his speed, 41. I think he was speeding, and I think he's trying to bring the average back down.
Yeah, it was 60 at the start-finish line, and he overshoots his pit box just ever so slightly.
Well, we'll see if the aggression was worth it. You're right, he did have to back up, and oh no, is he serving a pit penalty? I think he was caught speeding. Reister out. Wow, side by side here, Reister and Jenkins. How's that gonna work?
One of these has got to give.
Racing in the pit exit.
They don't want to give it.
Scott Reister not giving an inch. Alex Jenkins takes that inch and drives on through. That was an important pass we made by Alex Jenkins. That was a very important place to be aggressive. Not what I would have suggested against the league owner, but hey, it works out.
I was gonna say, yeah, technically, Scott Reister did exit pit road first, but they didn't crash, which is a good thing. And I mean, hey, if they can, if drivers can pass each other just entering pit lane before the actual pit lane speed limit, I mean, what's to say they can't do it on pit exit? I mean, that's not a rule either. So I say let him at it.
Thomas Rayleigh reassumes the Pro-Am race lead, 1.2 seconds ahead of John Kroom. We'll update you soon if that changes. Let's go back. It's an old stinger, but let's go back and take a look at this. There we go. We'll get there. One of these days, we're going to get this replay. So here's the pit stop for these drivers. We watch that long stinger again. Ricardo Rico, by the way, goes purple. 3 seconds behind Gustavo Ariel, but here is Reister through the pit box, through his pit stop, and watch this fight on exit. There goes Jenkins, launches just quick enough to get out side by side, and this is what Reister and Jenkins suddenly have to deal with. Oh, that was so close.
Wow.
And I think
Off
Scott...
the outside, no less.
I think Scott checked up just a little bit more when they nearly hit that jutting pit wall. Let's check this one more time as, well, We'll get back there. It's one of those days suddenly in production. Here we go. Just watch this in slow-mo when they come on by. That little bit of guardrail that juts out.
It's one of those things where even when I'm exiting pit road and even qualifying in practice, I don't think there's any space there. Gosh. Where even I think, okay, if I don't hit this, then we're good, but I'll try and aim to basically just barely graze it or miss it by like a half inch. And then I hit the guardrail, so.
That is Alex Jenkins' perspective. I mean, I don't see enough room for cars. This is nearly from the cockpit's perspective, from the driver's eye. I don't know how he did that.
I was going to say, technically there's space for 2 cars there, so doesn't mean they should be side by side. No, but there's nothing saying they shouldn't be side by side, so.
Well, it's been one of those days in more ways than one, as Jackson Resende is now on the back end here of Scott Reister for the 5th position, move back into the top 5.
This is a good recovery by Resende too. I want to point out he was 8th and battling with Alex Jenkins, and then made a little bit of contact, spun sideways, dropped all the way to 12th place, and now he's back in 6th. He could be potentially, like you said, battling for the top 5. That's a good comeback drive for Resende.
And he just put the clutch in up to turn 1. He's saving fuel. I think he under-fueled a bit more than maybe he would have otherwise to try and get some time back on these guys, and it's worked out as he's left Fabio Zamperlini by 1.5 seconds, who I believe he was fighting going into the pit cycle, so clearly something's going right. Up the road, Ricardo Rico. Last time I looked, and it was about a lap, maybe a lap and a half ago, he was
3.3 back.
Yeah, 3.5 seconds nearly back of Gustavo Ariel. Call it 2 seconds now as they work into turn 10, and Gustavo's going to have to pass Adam Hartzell, the slower car, number 81. Ricardo, I don't know. Again, this could just be a Brazilian in his element, saving tires, knowing that he's got to get to the end of the race. 9 minutes to go for Gustavo. Maybe he's just saving, but he is giving up time.
It's giving up a lot of time. I mean, like we saw as well, just as we were looking at the pegs, the replays, that Ricardo Rico has the fastest lap by, guess what? About 700th of a second over Gustavo Ariel. So it is a race of attrition, that's for sure. The last time by the start-finish line, I think something's happening with Ariel. Well, no, to be fair, he did pass the lap car of Adam Hartzell. I was going to say, a 1 minute 34.4 versus Ricardo Rico's 1:33.7. But otherwise,
something's different. Right, he's not running to the fullest potential of his pace, I don't think. He's a second off pace, whereas Ricardo is maybe about 2 or 3 tenths off. Whether that was just passing the lap car, something is different for Gustavo. We'll see if that changes next lap through. Here's a look at your Pro-Am lead, though, and they have closed back together. Another situation where the leader is kind of off their pace right now. Thomas Raley about a half second off right now, whereas John Kroom is, well, actually, interestingly enough, John Kroom has a 0.3 second faster. I say that right? 0.3 of a second. There we go. Fastest lap. Faster. I can't get the wording.
I get what you mean.
Yes.
A lap time that was 0.3 of a second faster.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Almost had it. We got the point. Let's see if we can recircle. Hold on. We got this. The fastest lap that John Kroom set.
There you go.
Compared to Thomas Raley was 0.3 of a second faster. 134.630 for John Kroom versus Thomas Raley's 34.921. We did it. We got there in the end. It only took a bit, concerningly a lot longer than it should have, but we got there in the end.
Yeah, for guys that are up in the booth with the sole purpose of talking, that took us a lot longer than it should have to get to that point. But you're right. John Kroom, his fastest lap, I'll say I can get there now. Fastest lap is 0.3 of a second faster. So, when I say John Kroom is 0.7 off his own pace, that is 0.3 faster. So really it's only 0.4 off of the fastest lap for Thomas Raley that Raley is a half second off of. So, all of that to say that John Kroom is a 0.1 of a lap faster currently, and we're going to see that as these guys come up the front stretch through this long drafting zone, and Kroom closes back in again. And once again, actually they're right about on top of each other that lap. And I think Kroom has kind of hit the limit of using the draft. He's there, right? So he's now in the realm where he's going to start to lose some front-end performance sitting in that aero wake. Meanwhile, Ricardo Rico now 1.3 seconds back for the race lead.
I was going to say, this is the fun/annoying thing about these cars, is that, yes, they can draft and they can slipstream against each other, as there's a battle for P15. Dino
There
Filippa,
is.
yeah, and Love 46 as well in P14. So battle for effectively 14th, as Aubrey Kundal is going to be seeing if, nope, backs off actually, and probably a wise move considering Pro Am for Kundal in that number 53.
Albert Kundal gives that spot up. Love 46 trying to hang on over Dino, who of course had that pit penalty. And hey, we've got time. Since we had to drop out of the session and come back in, now we get data from Dino Filippa. How about that? 51 seconds in the box. That pit penalty certainly working against car 1. And now, if anything, it has the effect that the pit lane start was supposed to have.
Pretty much. I'm still not sure what happened with the pit lane start, but that might be a whole separate side thing that...
that might be one to submit to iRacing.
Yeah, it might be one of those things.
That pit lane start, I think, didn't start the timer with the actual start of the race. It might have started the timer that he had to wait, maybe with the grid timer and the light stages. So that was a little bit interesting as Enrique Paletti goes on past Miguel Colon and Matthew O'Leary for 17th, 18th, and 19th on the racetrack. Johan Shirazzi, the next car behind these guys. And up front, Ricardo Rico suddenly within a second of our race leader. Jackson Rosende is 0.2 of a second back of Alex Jenkins as they fly through Decido del Lago and up to turns 5, 6, 7, and 8. And let's not get too far away from the Pro-Am lead. They could get tangling here soon. John Kroom on Thomas Rayleigh.
I'll say these two are, well, I was about to say closer than the
not for long
the main leaders, but yeah, not really. These two are basically have two of the exact same battles for the lead. And the one point I was going to make is that this is the annoying part, is where these cars can slipstream. It's just that it depends, and sometimes, and by, again, not too much, like I said at the top of the broadcast, is that it's only about like maybe 2 or 3 miles an hour. And at tracks like Monza, it's maybe like 5, 10-ish, and if you're lucky, really, getting bumped. But otherwise, it doesn't help too much, so it's more down to driver and car pace, and pretty much down to the setup here. And so far, Ricardo Rico's setup looks to be just that bit better. He looks to, yeah, I saw that. I saw that slight move to the left by Rico. He thought about it, but decides, you know what, no, it's not worth it.
Oh, here we go. Rosende, though, up the inside of turn 1, drifting through the Senna S. Beautiful. That was driver skill plus 100 right there.
That is absolutely incredible. Usually, man, it's very difficult to save, especially in the Senna S, because that's one of those corners, especially where it's downhill and you're constantly turning. You have to get on the throttle basically right away. So his tires might be a bit cooked, but he is, again, on a charge. 4th place for Rosende right now, but still at risk with Alex Jenkins behind him, as well as Scott Reisker.
We might have missed one here for driver of the day, frankly. Jackson probably would have won it, whether he had a good race or bad race. If we put him on the listing, just because it is his home race, and we have so many Brazilians watching, and we love having you guys all watch. But you can tell the fan clubs show up. And when we put any of the Texaco Racing by TK drivers on for driver of the day, typically they win. Maybe we'll have to try it out and put 2 of them on there and see who wins over who. But typically the fan club shows up, and I certainly would agree today. Here we go, side by side. Gustavo Ariel inside. Ricardo tried around the outside. That didn't work. 2.5 minutes to go. That was 2 laps to go by the flag stand.
And that was the very annoying part about the Senna S, is you basically have to be single file. So Rico is going to be in the draft now of Ariel, who takes a very defensive line to the right-hand side. Rico goes. I think he thought Ariel was going to dive. He gets the grass, Rico does. Still hangs on to it. I think Rico thought Ariel's going to dive up to the racing line on the right-hand side, but he didn't.
On board, inside the car of Ricardo Rico. Oh, Gustavo leaning back early. This is going to kind of bind things up and force Ricardo to find a different line. And boy, was that perfect. That backing up into that very fast section of racetrack just backed up Rico enough to where he had to figure out some kind of different way through than his usual line. And that really, sure, it gave up time, but it's, again, right there to turn 10, backing the entry up, just kind of slowing down is forcing Rico to do something different, and that's putting him more on edge than anything else.
Not only that, it's putting him on the less preferred lane, but I don't think it's going to stop him as
Oh,
Rico goes to the
contact!
outside. They barely avoid each other. Rico's going to try and dive to the left-hand side now for Ariel, but Ariel is holding that defensive line very, very well here. Oh, right when I say that, don't leave it too far open.
They might have just door banged in turn 12. It's hard to say, as Ricardo's going to have a run here. White flag this time in the air at Brazil. 1 lap to go there. You can see the white flag from Barney. You have to turn 1 to set it as contact for sure, I think, there, as we race for the race win at Brazil. And over comes Ariel. Just scoots right in front of Rico, closes the door. Ricardo's got to do it again to Decido del Lago this time.
It nearly all went away for Ariel there on the first half of the Senna S. It's going to be the same thing, a repeat of last lap. Does Rico do anything different? Tries and side draft, but it's not exactly going to work too well. Maybe it will, though, actually. The outside pass for Rico. Does he get it done? No.
All behind this, Thomas Rayleigh has been passed up by John Kroom for the Pro-Am lead and win potentially here in a lapse time. But for the overall win, Ricardo Rico still trying everything he's got in the bank to get by Gustavo Ariel. Turn 8 this time. Gustavo right back down to the apex curbing.
Pro-Am drivers just got the white flag on their end, so he won't miss that lead battle as Rico still tries to stay all over the gearbox, tries to find any lane possible to get by Ariel.
Quickly, this is the situation for Thomas Rayleigh as he looks at John Kroom down the Reta Opasta. Back to Ricardo Rico on board here. They're working up to Young Sal for the final time. Turn 12. Can Ricardo do anything here? The final braking zone in this race. Nearly got in for a NASCAR bump and run and gets loose on exit. That is race over for Ricardo Rico, and another win in the bag for Gustavo Ariel as he comes around past Subito dos Boxes, past the grandstands, and up to another win in the North American Racing League. W, checkered flag in the air for the home driver, Gustavo Ariel, as he throws some smoke there across the line. Jackson Rosende has got Alex Jenkins in his tailpipe, but we've got to go all the way back here to a 10th and 11th. John Kroom, Thomas Rayleigh, one more braking zone after this corner for these two. Rayleigh still has a chance.
See what Rayleigh can do here. He does have, like you said, one more chance, and that's if John Kroom does mess up the left-hand kink here. A lot of drivers have been having issues through here, but they both make it through smooth. John Kroom, at the moment, could come away to win this for the Pro-Am class.
Second Pro-Am race to his career, and John Kroom in car 45. He was bumped up a class last week for Monza. Didn't quite have a day worth talking about, but here at Brazil, a classic Grand Prix circuit, John Kroom to victory lane. Wow, what a day. What a day. Here comes Pendergrast, teammate to Rayleigh. As your top 3 for Pro-Am are Kroom, Rayleigh, and Pendergrast, rather. Philippa comes across in 13th. Kundal 14th. 15th, 1146. 16th, Bergstrom. 17th here in question for Miguel Colon, Enrique Poletti. And the final battle on the racetrack, it looks like Johan Shirazi, Chris Sanchez. Not much of a battle as they're on throttle to the start-finish line. And that'll be it for our top 22 who finished this race on the lead lap.
Wow is all I can say.
Wow is right. Now, voting is still going for driver of the day, but as we speak, John Kroom has taken that vote for the time being. Let's go back and see if we can find that pass between Thomas Rayleigh and John Kroom. This might be it. Actually, no, this is Rayleigh trying to get by Kroom, so we got to go back further. Let's see if we can find the point where they change positions, and I think I found it. It's down the Reta Opasta to Decido del Lago. Here we go. And John just up the inside. That's
wow.
The least climactic pass for the win I think I've ever seen. Oh, maybe not. It's not over yet. This is up the hill.
It might have been through here, yeah. Because this would be the preferred line for Kroom, and he just gets by on the uphill, no less.
And that's where it's decided.
I think Rayleigh might have backed out just a little bit to give him space and try and get a better line. Thinking John Kroom, well, let's see. John Kroom isn't on the preferred line, so maybe he'll go wide. And then he just didn't. It's one of those things where it just happens. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, but wow, that was a very, very good race.
This is the race-winning lap for John Kroom, at least to make this pass. Let's watch it. Rayleigh, that lock up into one. That's what brings John so close and into passing. Oh my goodness. What a beautiful run through 1 and 2, the Senna S. That was fantastic. John just gets better and better here through turn 3, and you can tell Thomas was thinking about this opportunity, knew it was coming, tried to get over and block, couldn't do anything.
As the very, very great racing between those two, especially.
Textbook.
That is, it's clean, they are giving each other space, everything.
That was textbook.
I think, just to be sure, yeah, for the uphill there, really just barely blipped the brakes for a split second. Probably just to make the corner more than anything. So Kroom had a much better run, really. That's incredible.
John Kroom just got him. I mean, he just drove up there and got him. I'm impressed. He was how far back? 2 seconds, I think, after the pit stops, much like Ricardo Rico was. 3 seconds back and caught Gustavo. 2 lights out shootout battles for our race wins here in each class. Really impressive stuff here at Interlagos. Love seeing that, but let's go through our unofficial race results after 50 minutes of racing. Gary, I am, again, so impressed by each class and their race win battles, but it's Gustavo Ariel with all 32 laps led to his name when it's all said and done and the timer runs out. Ricardo Rico goes second by only 0.8 of a second. Marco Saavedra third. Jackson Resende, Alex Jenkins round out your top 5. Great runs for each of them. Scott Reister goes sixth. Fabio Zamperlini seventh. Dalton Zavadil there in the 8th spot. Our points leader, a bit of an off day. We really did not talk about Car 24 at all. It's still a good top 10. I think just not his track. I'm sure he'll get back to it at Germany next week. Luan Hott goes 9th, and John Kroom just gets that Pro-Am win over Thomas Rayleigh by the end of it.
Of course, Thomas Rayleigh does follow up in second place, and Robert Pendergast, there we go. A bit of a quiet day for the most part, but otherwise not too bad. Finishes third in the Pro-Am class. Dino Filippa could have been a significantly better day in many more ways than one. Hopefully next week will be a bit more kinder to him. We'll see how things go with him. Aubrey Kundal will finish 4th place in the Pro-Am class. Love 46 finishes 15th overall for the Pro Series. And then Alex Bergstrom finishes 5th place overall for the Pro-Am class, 16th overall, 17th, Miguel Colon. Pretty good job for Miguel, considering that he did lock up a couple times and probably, as far as we know, considered just parking it, but he did keep going and he did give himself a pretty good finish as Enrique Paletti finishes 18th overall, Matthew O'Leary finishes 19th overall, and Johan Shirazi finishes in 20th.
Or 21st, rather, is Chris Sanchez in his second race as a Pro-Am driver. Zachary Deas, they're 22nd. Armando Bejaran, Adam Hartzell, Stacy Bertrand, Dominic Turcotte, all great efforts, but all one lap down, unfortunately, when it's said and done. Martin Gramigna, 27th after his troubles early. I actually can't recall what happened to Martin. He was the one that sent it. It wasn't Miguel Colon, right? It was Martin that we thought was going to park it and then kept going, I thought. And
no, that was Colon, I believe.
Either way, Martin Gramigna, I can't recall what happened. I think he was the car that stopped out in the grass. But regardless, Scott Angelo there, 28th. David Schwartz, 29th. Christian Gritzko, very upset in Discord. Ends up 30th after some early issues, along with Milan Harris and Sean Campbell, who I believe Sean had his brake break. His brake pedal broke going into the session about 5 minutes prior to qualifying, I think I read. So really unfortunate for Sean. But let's get down to it. Driver interviews as Gustavo goes to victory lane in the pro class. So impressive a run here once again, Gustavo, but you had to race for it. It wasn't just a drive away to the checkered flag. What was it like there with Ricardo Rico for 32 laps?
Well, was really, really fun to hold him, but yeah, no tires. I think after lap 10 I saw my gap like 1.8, 1.7, so I was opening a gap of 2-3 tenths per lap, but after 10 laps it's no tire, so I just try to manage a bit more. The rear tires was killing my my total grip, so I was trying to use more front tires, but was become even worse after the pit stop, so I just try to save a bit of fuel, to under fuel. I opened a gap, I think, of 3 seconds on the pit stop, so that advantage let me give me a gap to save more fuel at the end. So when Rico approached me on last 2-3 laps. I was just defend. I know this track a lot, so that's good because I know the main points to defend and to not let him go to the dive bomb. So yeah, was really a really fun race. Win at home, it's even better. So after the win on Pask this weekend, win here, it's special, equal.
Yeah, it would have been nicer if we had JP Costa to talk to you guys, and shout out to your Portuguese, well, Brazilian friends, Portuguese-speaking friends. But Gustavo, you still go to victory lane. I wonder, you mentioned the Pask win over the weekend. Congratulations there as well. What's the preparation like between the two series? Of course, Pask is, I mean, it's the Porsche Esports Championship, and then over here, it's the North American Racing League. Two very different series, but both with the Porsche Cup car, and both with a lot of money behind them. What's the preparation, I guess the prioritization like? Do you practice one track over the other, or what's that like?
Well, to be honest, I have a lot of drivers that I coach on this championship, on the AM, on the Pro AM also, so I do some laps when I have a bit of time. Last week was, I think, more easy because it was Monza, the 2 races, but our Monza here was a bit more crazy. But yeah, I like to prepare. On the Pask side, we train, I think, 6 hours per day, and here I train, I think, 2 hours per day. So I have the same like mentality for the 2 races, because I want to win in both. But last two races here was really bad for me. I have a problem with my wheelbase. I have a problem with my PC. So yeah, it will be difficult to win the championship. But yeah, the level here it's insane, equal as Pask. But there we have, of course, all the drivers are on the top level. Here we have, I think, 10 or 15 drivers are very good here on the Pro AM, and some races they always put a good pace also. So it's good to see some guys improving their laps here also. And it's like Scott from the last year to this year, it's a huge improvement. So yeah, it's fun to see the drivers battle with us in this kind of championship also.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Shout out to Scott. I'm glad I'm not the only one saying it. Scott Reister has picked up tons in just the last calendar year of racing or so. And I guess it comes down to driver coaching with guys like you. So, Gustavo, thanks for your efforts, not only as a driver racing, making it so exciting in that battle with Ricardo, but off the racetrack as well. I guess off the broadcast, if you will. It really does mean a lot to this entire series here at the North American Racing League. Gustavo, congratulations. 32 laps led. You showed these guys what's for once again at your home racetrack, and I can't wait to see what you guys can do in Germany. Best of luck to you.
Thank you so much, and I want to say a big thank you to my team, Texaco Racing by Tony Kanaan, all the sponsorships, Belt Seguros, Logitech, HB, própria Texaco. Thank you so much, Simpad, for my amazing rig, and see you guys on the next race. I'll be streaming on Twitch as always, so it's good to be here on the interview. It's a good win. Thank you so much, and see you on the next race. Bye-bye.
Absolutely, Gustavo. Real quick, what's your Twitch username so these guys can follow you?
It's Gustavo Ariel BR. Gustavo Ariel BR.
There you go, Gustavo. Thanks for your time. Hopefully we're talking to you next week at Nürburgring.
Thank you so much. See you there.
Gustavo Ariel, another race-winning evening over Ricardo Rico and Gary. This was one heck of a battle to watch. Ricardo comes up one spot short. I'll bring him in. And Ricardo, it ends up just being a little bit too little, a little bit too late. But you nearly had Gustavo. Is there anything you could have done differently in that fight?
I think I could have done some things different for sure, but yeah, you never know, because when you are there and you don't know what he's gonna do, how your car is gonna respond. So yeah, it's difficult. For sure, I could have done something different, but.
And of course, Interlagos is always racy. It's always exciting. It's also very tough. It demands a lot from driver and car. What was the setup, the preparation like coming into this race?
I think I got a good base from Ruskochen, so it was more or less the same, and just tried to get a good pace for the race because I know it was gonna be important. So because here you can pass some cars. Well, I couldn't today, but the idea was to do it. So yeah.
You're serious right now? For the setup from Norway applied here for Brazil?
Yes, it did.
That's
the one from Ruskogen, not the Monza.
Yeah, from Norway a few races ago. Yeah, how I guess what is similar between Rudskogen and Interlagos that you're able to bring that setup over? Is it the tighter sections in the middle of the lap here at Brazil?
I mean, you have some fast corners, some slow corners, and just one straight. I mean, what's so different if you think about it? You know what I mean? Also, I have to say that the Porsche is not too much about the setup. It's more about the driving. There is not much things you can do on the setup of the Porsche. So it's more or less, it's more about you adapting to the car. I mean, you can do some small touches, but not too much.
Well, there you go. Ricardo Rico with a solid night and using some notes he picked up from Rudskogen a few races ago. Ricardo, great talking to you as always. Glad to have you here towards the top of the points as well. It's going to be interesting, the point picture going into Germany next week. Hopefully we're talking to you out there at the Nürburgring.
Sorry, I didn't understand you, mate. I don't know if you were already like, can you repeat, please?
I was just saying thanks for your time, and hopefully we're talking to you next week in Germany.
Okay, no, I did. Okay, thank you guys. Have a good night, and thank you for what you do every day. A good night.
Absolutely. Thanks once again to you, Ricardo. Second place this evening overall. A great battle with Gustavo Ariel. And Gary, I'll turn it over to you. Our Pro-Am race winner, John Kroom, is also today's driver of the day. And boy, do I think he's earned it.
Not only driver of the day for John Kroom, but if I remember correctly, if I'm wrong, Andrew, second Pro-Am start, and he's won his first race. That is, John, that is... even I'm speechless. You did a great job. That was awesome. Walk us through, especially that battle of Thomas Rayleigh throughout the, I guess at this point, the whole race. I
was just trying to hang on to him, and the entire race, I thought I would just follow him and see if I could stay with him, and toward the end, it actually opportunity came up to pass, and so I was as shocked as everybody else. But no, it was great. He was super clean, and I worked a good bit with Dino this week on some lessons, and which helped a lot. So it was super fun race.
And for those a part of the league that may be watching this interview, yes, Dino does do coaching. It's for I think $15 a month, if I remember correctly, or $15 a session, which is insane. And it's amazing. I still haven't taken advantage of that. I probably should. But yeah, Dino, I mean, hey, that shows that Dino definitely did a great job if you ended up winning your class. And that was fantastic. You mentioned, of course, a clean race. I mean, any variances in pit strategy that you considered during the race at all, or did you just think, well, we'll just stick with this one plan and go for it?
Yeah, I was just trying to really just try to follow and stay in the draft and hope that I could keep him in sight, and it worked out. So yeah, it was a fun race.
Of course, heading to the Nürburgring GP, or not Grand Prix layout, the WEC layout, essentially for the next race. What are your thoughts on that? Because that's a definitely challenging track in its own right, especially.
I like the GP layout. I'm not sure if I'm familiar.
It might be relatively the same, say for like the final chicane.
Yeah, it's the fast chicane.
Oh, okay. Well, I love the GP. We used to do so many races in Gran Turismo. That's kind of where I cut my teeth in the whole sim racing, and I love that track. So yeah, I look forward to doing that one. Of course, I hadn't been on it in forever, especially not in a Porsche Cup car. I'm sure it'll be challenging. Every track is challenging in this car.
I can also confirm that I'm not. I don't even have the open setup, but it's absolutely fantastic. So of course, John, anything else you'd like to say before we go ahead and let you go and celebrate your win for Pro-Am this evening?
I guess the only thing I could say is I thought I'd done my last interview when I left the AM class a couple weeks ago. So this was a shock to be here. So good to see you guys.
It's good to see you too. Congratulations once again on the win, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you more.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Gary.
How about that? A couple of weeks ago, you guys were racing each other, and today you're talking to one another. One is a broadcaster in the pro race, and the other as a race winner in the Pro-Am class over a guy like Thomas Rayleigh. Let's bring in Thomas, and I gotta ask here, Thomas. You led that whole race up until the last couple with John Kroom. How surprised were you that suddenly you had a 45 car up your inside into the Interlagos?
I was waiting for it to happen. He was pretty close to me before the pits, and then when we pit, whatever happened with our different pits, I came out about 2 seconds ahead, but in the second stint, he was flying. He caught up to me within a couple laps, and I was able to hold him off for a while, and I was just waiting. I was waiting for the pass, and I made it pretty easy because I ended up locking up into turn 1.
Well, you still come home P2, and of course you have a couple of new Pro-Am competitors. One of them certainly was in your hair this evening, but you're now the top of the Pro-Am class in standings. And of course the second place effort to somebody who's not in the top 10 yet, that's really going to help as far as narrowing this championship down to you. You picked up the win at Detroit. You're looking for another win now before we close the season out. How do you feel for these last two races? Germany and Sebring, both very different circuits.
Sebring I'm not too worried about. I've got a lot of experience with Sebring. I usually don't like it, but I'm going to put in the work, see if I can get some pace. But I'm not very familiar with the GP layout of Nürburgring. I only race the GP as far as it takes me to get into the forest. So I've got a couple corners to learn here.
Well, thankfully, they aren't terribly difficult corners between just wrapping back around onto the front stretch of the Grand Prix course. But best of luck to you next week, Thomas. Hopefully, it's one position higher for your own sake.
Yep. Thanks.
Thomas Rayleigh from Epic Fails Motorsports nearly completed a sweep on the evening as his teammate won the AM race and goes second here in the Pro-Am race. Nearly did Epic Fails Motorsports EFM go 2 for 2 in their races. Couldn't quite do it, though. Thomas Rayleigh goes second this evening in Pro-Am. And Gary, another fantastic race. Interlagos never lets us down.
Even I was a bit concerned going into this because as I definitely enjoyed this track. It's so much fun, but I may or may not have only practice coming into the session in the first place, but we'll ignore that part. Otherwise, though, it's a track that I very much enjoy. It's something I can't entirely get down correctly, but otherwise it's a lot of fun. And the one that I definitely fear for is going to be the Nürburgring because, well, no, it might be Sebring. We'll see. It depends. Nürburgring, that's also pretty just challenging. I could never seem to get the opening corners correct. And Sebring, it's Sebring. There's just a bunch of bumps everywhere, so I feel like I'm going to look at the bump wrong and it'll just send me around. So we'll see how it goes. Really, the only race I'm confident about is Long Beach, but the schedule is very, very fun. And having both the amateur division and the Pro-Am division running the same tracks at the same night, it's very good because you get to see how differently two different classes, essentially, technically three, how three different classes of drivers run these tracks. And especially in the pro division, what they can do with their setups to see to smooth things over for their own personal driving style.
I believe you'll have to be a race winner to race at Long Beach for a bonus race. I believe it's race winners only when we unload for the bonus race. So if you're feeling good about Long Beach, you got to be feeling a bit good about Germany or Sebring. Get yourself a win in car 75 there in the M class. But anyhow, two races to go here for points. Germany and Sebring. The Nürburgring Grand Prix track, I believe it is the BES, which I believe would be, what is it, British Endurance Series? I'm not sure. And then the World Endurance Championship layout, which again is the Grand Prix course through the arena and everything, and then just through the fast chicane, I believe, which is going to be interesting, that fast left-right flick as opposed to a harder chicane. It is going to be a little bit tumultuous, especially with these Pro-Am guys that just love to send it sometimes. We saw a couple of big sends tonight in turn one. We'll see more next week, I'm sure, at the Nürburgring. Let's take a look, though, at our upcoming broadcasts here at the channel. Of course, next up, Sunday afternoon, we come right back here. A whole lot of Brazil to tickle your fancy here on Pit Stop TV. 1:30 Eastern, the SimPit Radical Series wraps up their championship, and that'll be a good one to get behind us. I think that series, Terry Crouch has already won the championship. It seems like a few drivers are taking that round off as well, so we're going to see a lot of drivers suddenly rocket up the championship standings just by virtue of making the race and others not being there. So it'll be interesting to tune in for and see how the championship works out. And then Sunday night, we add to our schedule. We've got a doubleheader as the Noble Can-Am Series goes to Homestead Miami Speedway at 8:15 Eastern. And again, as I said earlier, that's kind of a Trans Am style series where they've got the super late model and late model stock car on road courses for 1 hour races with 2 pit stops loaded up for those late models. And they do not make pit stops very quick, 22 seconds or so full tire and fuel stops. That's going to be a challenging one for them. And then Thursday, of course, we come right back around the Nürburgring with the North American Racing League, 8:30 Eastern. So a solid week of racing ahead. A lot of road course racing here at the channel suddenly. And we're looking forward to it for sure, Gary. As you can see, all of our social media links there at the bottom.
Man, road course racing is just, for some reason, somehow, it might just be this weekend because there's also Le Mans, the Le Mans 24 Hour plus the NASCAR Garage 56 entry. Go check that out if you're interested because it is very fascinating. But it's a very big road course feel, and I'm absolutely loving it. But, of course, you can catch all of the upcoming road course races here on Pit Stop TV and on our various social medias, facebook.com/pitstoptv, instagram.com, and twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV. Twitter is pitstoptv_. YouTube is youtube.com/pitstoptv1 or /c/pitstoptv1, depending. And of course, a new addition to our social media roster is Kick at let me try that one more time. Kick.com/pitstoptv1. There we go. That was mildly confusing for a second.
And as I mentioned at the top of the show, I could go on about the Twitch situation. We'll let you guys do your own research. Unfortunately, for those of you that you would usually watch on Twitch, well, clearly if you would usually watch there and you're watching here tonight, you're somehow hearing our voices. We're glad you've made the switch. Unfortunately, we will no longer be continuing to broadcast to Twitch. It is no longer possible for us to do so. So, again, won't get too far into that. We could have a whole podcast maybe on that for a couple of hours, probably, Gary, but we'll just leave it there, and that will be removed after this broadcast, actually. So, it's unfortunate, but it's part of it. Sometimes things evolve, things change, and that is just how the world works. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, along with Kick, those are our platforms. And we could even broadcast to Instagram. We could broadcast to TikTok. There's a couple of options out there. So guys, if you're watching and there's a platform that you feel we should broadcast to, we don't know about it yet, let us know, because we are looking to add a 5th platform back. Kind of breaking the 4th wall a bit, but I'd rather be entirely open about it. So if there's a platform you guys would like to see us join and broadcast to, let us know. We've been looking at Instagram, looking at TikTok, and it's likely going to be one of those, but there's also Trovo out there. There's also Rumble. There's some options, and we'd love to get some feedback. But that is it this evening. Gary, thanks for joining us. It would have been great to have JP Costa here, but I'll certainly never turn down a broadcast with Gary Weaver. Good to have you here. And, of course, Emerson Arden on commentary for the amateur race. I love how versatile Emerson is. Commentary and social media during that race, and, of course, social media here for the pro race. It's always good to have Emerson Arden on the broadcast team. I would have it no other way. And, guys, just once again, thanks for backing me up, making me sound like I know what I'm talking about. Next week, we go off to Nürburgring for round 7. Before then, tune in. Sunday, we have a doubleheader. Radicals at home. Radicals here at Brazil, and then late models at Homestead. You've got to tune in. We'll see you there. Actually, see, this is why I need you guys to let me know what I'm talking about, because I almost skipped our partner shout-outs here with Infinite Racing Services, Muradness, Victorum, the scoring partner of the series, and Screw Compressor Service Incorporated. And the most important one, to me, because we've got a new addition here that I want to talk briefly about. Whiplash Simcams, ATVO, and CC's Business, brand new to the channel. Want to support a local business? This is a local business. Check out CC's Business on Facebook. They've got an Instagram page now and a TikTok. And just a big shout out to a local business here in North Carolina that is just trying to get their footing. A big shout out to again, CC's Business. You can see there the logo at the bottom left. Facebook, Instagram and TikTok right now, and expanding. Homemade soaps and wax melts and other things coming at you from CC's. Glad to have them joining the channel. And of course, those who make it happen for us behind the scenes in audio, ATVO, Whiplash Media, SimCams, OBS, and iRacing.com. That now is it for us here from Interlagos, and we'll be seeing you all next time out in Germany.